I wonder what's on TV.
Hello. I'm back. I had a little bit of sleep. And now I'm better. So I'm gonna play a game, or two, or three, or four. Who knows how long I'll be on. I kind of want to watch a video and listen to music, but I don't know which. So let's go and stop the norm, because we don't like the new norm. We like me. This is the truth.
This also just dropped, man, from the Tekken Twitter, potentially related to the Game Awards. We're excited, the excitement growing for the upcoming Tekken World Tour and the Global Finals. The Tekken team would like to share more details regarding the major events coming up this week. Yeah, Tekken World Tour is on Sunday. New information about features updates for Tekken 8 will be announced. However, regarding the next playable character, no additional information. A reminder, new information about features and updates for T8 will actually be announced. So there is a reason for you to tune in. If you're just like, hey, I just want to see an update, that's it. You can get something, but the new character ain't happening, bro. Our team is currently working on the announcement and release later this winter to ensure we can fully meet everybody's expectations. We're preparing a warm welcome for all headed to the Tekken World Tour Global Finals, where the first world champion will be crowned King of the Iron Fist. 30th anniversary, excellent Tekken Festival, features various Tekken-related activities. We look forward to welcoming you both at the venue. Yeah. Game Awards. It's at the Game Awards, dude. Tekken reveal at the Game Awards, I'm calling it, because the Game Awards is almost like 1 week after this event, right? Almost 1 week right after. So I think anybody looks at this, it would be almost shocking if it wasn't at the Game Awards. Unexpected? We're going to get an update about Tekken in some way. at the Tekken World Tour Finals, so I do want to watch it. Yeah, dude, I think it's the Game Awards.
Try a little
I think
standard.
You want this shit to hit
First.
the most people it can possibly hit, you know? You want that shit to happen. Here's the thing, dude. Now that they're directly addressing it, this shit is being directly addressed. They know that the anticipation for the next character is likely incredibly high. And they know that they need to make sure to meet everybody's expectations for this stuff. This guest character really does need to hit. It really does. We literally talked about who it could possibly be, went into a video up earlier this week with a lot of things that it could be and what I would be excited for. And here's the thing. Tekken 8 is at a point right now where it needs a banger character to get everybody back on board, right? It literally needs a banger character to get everybody like down and on board and super into this shit. And if it's not that, if it's not a character that has some sort of like relatively decent appeal, broad stroke appeal, I don't know. I don't think it'll be an MK1 situation because at least Tekken 8 is feature rich as holy shit. This is not a game that was clearly missing out on a ton of features, right? I think the highest probability and the best thing this could possibly be in my head is a Tifa situation. Is literally Tifa. Do I think that's gonna happen? No, I don't think it's gonna happen. Do I think that could happen eventually? Yeah, I think it could eventually. I think there is an eventuality where that could be a big reveal for Tekken 8 down the line. But I don't know. I'm getting kind of, what I'm trying to say is I'm getting kind of worried. And here's the problem is that they waited like 8 months after the game's launch, almost, no, 10 months. So now it's like, oh shit, dude. Is this stuff going to eventually meet the expectations of fans? And here's the thing, I really hope it does. I really do, because Tekken 8 I feel like deserves it. It's a game that's clearly in a growing phase right now, but man, what would be disappointing is what I'm trying to say. I usually don't go in this route. I usually don't go down this dark path. In any other situation, Marduk would be exciting. Let's make an assumption that it's not like Marduk or Bruce or something, because that would effectively send that character to, you know, the hell. Like, this is when Tekken needed a guest and everyone was expecting it, and they just gave you, like, Anna. It's like, well, it's a great character in another period of time, but now it's not. Bob. So let's assume it's not that. Let's go down
Bob
the path
would be the next
being
guest
a
character.
guest.
That'd be
And I
fucking
don't
dumb.
think it'll be Akuma again. Akuma, I don't think is the right call. But Akuma coming back, it would cause a ton of controversy, but it would also cause, like, a whole bunch of casual fans to be mad excited. Did you guys notice that when Street Fighter went through its big turnaround earlier this year, like the moment Street Fighter started to turn around and turn into a game that a lot of people really like was literally when Akuma came out. It happened to Street Fighter. Street Fighter got the character that everyone or a lot of people were effectively waiting for. From that point forward, Street Fighter 6 was kind of like an awesome game. For that period before, for about 6 months, this game sucks. Actually, this game sucks. And then some different characters showed up. You got a trailer for like Bison. You got like trailers right after that a couple months later for Mai and Terry and shit. And it's like, oh shit, this game's sick, you know? It changed. One guest character began a wave of like, this game sucks to this game's sick, you know? What I'm saying is that this is that moment for Tekken 8. This is that fucking moment. Worst case scenario is Luke. That would not be good. I like Luke. Not in a third game, my dude. Not a third game. I'm sorry, Alex. Not a third game. No Luke. Not right now. That would indeed be inappropriate timing to drop Luke in Tekken. And you also have to think it won't be any first-party characters because the game's on everything. 2XKO. That actually wouldn't be that bad. That might actually be pretty cool. I don't think that's a negative situation. That would be pretty cool. Virtua Fighter would also be very cool, but I don't think that's happening either. I promote, damn it, my brain always goes to things that could be possibly exciting and out there. What if it's fucking Batman? Like, straight up. What if it's just Batman? That'd be pretty fucking crazy if it's just Batman. That would be pretty wild and out there and unexpected, all things considered. Damn.
What if it's
I can't
LeBron
think
James?
of, in my head, things that would be really cool. I'm supposed to think
LeBron
things that would hit,
James.
but Scorpion or Sub-Zero. Awesome. Like, absolutely awesome. That would be out there, you know? Because MK guest characters don't usually cross over into other games, respectively. They usually don't. Shadow the Hedgehog. See, I don't care at all, but it would be possibly a good call. I could see it. That's what's weird, is that I could see it. Do I want that to happen? No. Do I want another Yoda-like in a Bandai Namco game? No. Is it Lucky Chloe? Oh no, what did I just do? I was gonna say Taylor Swift instead of Lucky Chloe.
Jesus.
But then I was like, oh no. Maybe it's just Lucky Chloe. Yeah, I think I just saw into the future. I think I just got a vision of us being like, oh, God. Ooh, this could be really not good. Chat recommends on the YouTube side a couple of things that I think I would be down for. If it is original Tekken characters, like existing Tekken characters, story continues and it's Devil Reina, or it's Angel Jin, or some shit. It's those like crazy ass versions of those characters. I don't think either of those calls would be particularly bad. I think they would be cool, but that would not be the character that Tekken needs right now. It would not. It'd be sick. It'd be crazy. It'd be like, whoa, this is nuts that they're trying to make these characters a thing. Why not? Well, sure. But my argument is that I would be probably more excited for those characters to show up in the game in an official way and actually tooled for the regular game and not just the story. I'm down. Not the right character. Not the right time. If it was just that, it'd just be like, oh, okay. Yeah. And everything brings it back. Chat brings me back. I'm getting excited again. It's not Lucky Chloe. It's Big Boss. Big Boss with solid snake skin. There's things to be excited about. There's things to be, like, also deeply concerned and worried about right now. You know? All I'm going to say is that this shit could be anything. It really can. It could be a returning Tekken character. It could be an extravagant Tekken character. You know, a Devil Reina, Angel Jin. It could be a really out there guest character, like, you know, completely out of the video game scape or the traditional video game scape. It could be Logan Paul. It could be Batman. It could be Rock Howard, because Rock Howard has got a new game coming out, and this will be the third time that they've crossed over with SNK. It could be something actually really surprising, like a Sub-Zero or Scorpion. All we're saying is this shit is not going to be going down in the place that we think it is, because they're saving the announcement for something big. It needs to be bigger. It needs to be larger. Or it could eventually be the thing that everybody wants. That deep down, they say no, they mean yes, everybody wants, which is Tifa. That's where that's where everyone's heart lies. Like, Tifa is the one that will eventually appeal to the 90% of the masses, you know what I mean?
Let's go!
Let's talk about a couple more things, just to solidify where my stance is on MK1. I've obviously been playing MK1 off and on for ever since it came out, but I've gone through some pretty big gaps in between because the DLC characters weren't really, you know, jiving for me. But as soon as Takeda came out, whoa, boy.
I was looking for my glasses for a second.
God. And then other characters that have come out since then are really fun. I think Ghostface is amazing. So several elements in MK1 didn't hit for me at the start in the roster, specifically in choosing a character. I just did not jive with any character in the game, and I was sort of waiting for that. But still, even that being said, I played the game more in those first 3 months than I had played almost MK11 in its entirety, dude. Because it was kind of a fun game to play. It had clearly some issues with like assist calling and the way it felt and input problems and all that stuff. But at least it was like something I even wanted to put my time into and enjoy myself, right? Outside of only checking out like DLC and not playing it at all outside of that. My dude, I've played like Steve and Kenny on their streams when they're streaming. I see them streaming MK. I'll jump on and play matches with them. I don't do that for a ton of games, man. I really don't. MK1 is one of those games that I'm like, yeah, I just want to play this right now. I just want to jam on some MK1, sure. That wasn't the case for Injustice 2. That wasn't the case for MK11. It was not, at least for me. So there's some gameplay stuff in the game that is pretty fun. However, it was always held down by, I'd argue, the worst feeling NRS game out there. A game with some cool ideas, but not great execution. The cameo system, I like the idea for it. And then eventually how you do it, not good. Do not like. It's gotten better, but not good, do not like. The only way I can really compare this to other games. I think I literally have to bring up MK11. So MK11, and I'll give you guys a visual example. We did this before. MK11 introduced the cameo system, right? Literally had, in some modes, the ability for you to call in other characters and for them to do exclusive moves. So it's like tied to the analog stick, the right analog stick, up, down, left, right would do different things. Bam, character comes in and does something. But there was no posing. There was no awkward, long animation that the characters effectively had to take in order to do it. MK1 was designed with different constraints. Clearly, we don't want that overall, right? You just don't want a whole game that is effectively poseless, what they called ambush cameos, the entire time. We don't want that. That game would be absolutely effed up. But I think the fact that the game at a core level, at an early design state, probably didn't get the time for them to figure out how they wanted to create a game that had assists and stuff like that is weird to me, because they feel so weird to use. They feel like worse versions of almost like MVC1 assists. And if I go back and think of MVC1, yeah, I love that game, but dude, if you could just call MVC1 assists willy-nilly and they have like a small recovery and you can bring them back, that game would be amazing. That game would be so much better. You wouldn't just be Colossus all the time, but it would be a significantly better game if you didn't have to do the pose and then call a character in. Right off the bat, the game is given a design constraint of like these really specific cameos and how you call them and what you do with them, and they get more interesting over time, like the Mavados and stuff like that. They have to be in juggling or something. Cool idea, but really it's like, no, this is not it. Like you had it working in a correct way in
I won with cats.
11.
Yay.
We had it in a way that felt good, and I really don't understand like why the whole game wasn't sort of designed around that.
I should use that as the
like
death kill.
Around this and then contracted.
The kill
to make it
shot.
Worse. Right from the get-go, you have a game that was effectively designed to be this new, interesting, different thing that is not going to make casuals interested in your game, is only going to be effectively sort of for the super hardcore gameplay people. But even for the super hardcore gameplay people, you have a game that feels worse than MK11. So there's what my biggest criticism is. Like, you have a very fun game that could have been here. MK1 could have been a very fun game, but it was always held back by like all these things. And I'm not even talking about content, right? I'm talking from a general gameplay standpoint of how the game works. I am not even addressing the fact that, yes, I jump into MK1 and there's a really
1 second, I'm just checking something.
team like with Cameo. Yeah, I want to go do this with some people. And then I relegate myself to playing MK1 online. And I'm reminded every single time how awful it is. And I don't just mean player behavior. I don't just mean like community thing. I just mean that is like icing on the cake of shittiness. Where it's like, oh, now I gotta deal with this horrible matchmaking that lets me look at this menu. I'd argue NRS players or people that have been playing MK1 consistently and have played this shit since it came out, my dudes, you have seen that opening default stage menu thing where it says like connecting to matchmaking. Your ass has been looking at that for like a year. You have spent days of your life with that menu open looking for ranked matches and doing nothing else. Nothing. Hopefully you're making sandwiches and shit.
Yeah.
2023, 2024 version of get ready for the next battle, you're stuck there. And you just have to look at that shit. And you don't get to, there's no matchmaking during this. There's no matchmaking during that. You cannot train. You can't do any of that shit, dude. It's nuts. So I get in and I play a game where the matchmaking takes forever and I just want to play people. I spend the majority of my time, I swear to God, sitting at that goddamn menu and not playing people. And I'm like, this is not the way fighting games work, man. Like, it has always been something where it's like, yeah, I love these characters. They are really fun. I'm working beyond the obvious control issues that the game sort of has, that you got to acclimate to and get used to. I work beyond that because I'm really enjoying how the characters work and how the game effectively is. I like it. But even when I think of like, man, do I want to play Takeda in that? And it's like, oh, you know what? I do not. I just want to go back to the MK1, the same relationship I had with MK11. What was my relationship with MK11? I almost never played ranked. I played room matches that allowed people to choose moves and stuff, because in the player matches, you didn't have to choose the variations. You can just freely choose variations, which they eventually did anyway. I did that for the entirety of the game. So I was like, sick. I'm just going to do that instead. And I am not kidding you. You still cannot do that in MK1. I cannot open a lobby and just have people join it. Like, it is specifically by invite only. It is specifically by, like, accommodation. You have to go find the person, get them, put them in. There is so much, like, busy work I have to do, especially if, you know, all of our friends lists are full and shit. I have to effectively go, who wants to join? And I have to, like, look up their names and, like, add them. That wasn't that way before, dude. So there's no, like, traditional rooms. There's no way for you just to, like, hey, I just want to fight my chat for a while. The same way I always played MK11 online. Oh, I can't do that. And guess what happens? My desire to learn and play that character goes down and down and down. The investment I have to put in, you have to play so many of these fucking matches. Like, I played for, like, a couple days straight, and I got to, like, Demigod or something like that. And I was like, do I want to keep doing this? It's like, oh my god, dude, I don't know if I do. I don't know if I do. That has always been an issue for me. I've had that relationship historically with other fighting games, like back in the day, Guilty Gear, like Xrd, right? Just Xrd in general. Game ran like butt online overall before it got fixed. And like the ranked matchmaking was almost non-existent, and you had to like go into rooms and get people in those rooms. But even if I got people into like the lobby rooms, they wouldn't work. So it was like, well, shit, every single time I try to do this, there's some weird problem. And now I have to specifically get into a room and invite these people and yada, yada, yada. So there was always something in the way of me just like playing the game. If there's one thing I have to give credit for Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8, I have spent so much time in those games, hundreds of hours just in ranked. And the only reason I've been able to play that many hours in ranked is because I've just been playing people. I haven't been doing other bullshit trying to find matches and shit. I've just been finding matches. And when I'm not finding matches, I'm just practicing a combo. That goes by really quick. And then, oh, I'm trying to finish a combo and I get a match. Oh man, I couldn't finish my combo. I got to get a match. So I'm not really thinking about how frustrated I am about like all this other shit that the game might not particularly be good at, because I'm just getting good at the game. You know, there's very little barrier in between your ability to like learn. And what is the thing you need to learn, people? You need to fight people, dude. You just need to fight a whole bunch of people and keep fighting them and find other people with better connections and stuff like that. That's just the way it is. It's designed in a way that makes sense for our current year. Everything in MK1 is not that way online, dude. Everything's like backwards. Everything feels like we went back to something that was like the mid 2010s. And it clearly is that way because they just didn't have the time to implement it in their new engine and all this stuff, you know? Everything regressed. So that's my thought process right now. That's clearly the things that like need to change. I could have several criticisms of like invasions and the gear and all that stuff, but it's all fluffy Barbie dress up bullshit. Like, I think it's neat. I don't mind it in a certain way. The core gameplay loop just needs to be interesting, and I need to be able just to fight people and have there not be that many obstacles in between. If I'm unlocking things and just doing stuff, yeah, that's awesome. Then great. The casual audience is going to love that. But for me personally, right, and I'm not going to speak for everybody because I know that's going to have to be a huge part of the next Mortal Kombat game. Those things aren't even important to me, dude. The most important thing to me was just getting cool characters that are cool, that are like either guest characters or returning characters, to do cool gameplay stuff, and I get to go online and do that cool gameplay stuff. There were several roadblocks that prevented me from even being able to do that. So yes, they can improve all these other things, but when the core gameplay loop, in my opinion, is compromised, we have a big problem, dude. If it doesn't feel good, if there's like inherent issues with just the way it is, between either cameo usage in comparison to the previous game or whatnot, that's what I want to get changed. And I think the other thing I'll say, MK1 ended up feeling very samey. Everything sort of ended up happening in the exact same ways, just with different characters. If we're talking stories and things like that, or how characters look and how they play, many elements we were expecting to be wildly different, a brand new era, a brand new this, a brand new that. It was not. That was mostly marketing. That was supposed to be the appeal of the game, but as you play the game, you realize it's like, oh, it was kind of just the same thing. Characters just look a little bit different, but it's kind of the same thing. We didn't change eras of Mortal Kombat really at all. We just brought back PS2 characters. MK1 kind of goes down as like the Street Fighter 5 of the current era Mortal Kombat. But
I think I said it before. I give MK1 like a light 7. I like it. I think it could get better, but that's up to WB Games and NRS. It's never going to matter if I play it every day or get as good as I can and grind it out. It's, in some ways, unplayable. It's unfun to go into matches, people quitting because you're playing a character they think is really cheap.
does not get that opportunity to sort of like make wild adjustments or fix gameplay stuff.
It's exactly what Max is saying.
More fun and more engaging to use. You know, it's just it gets its typical year and a half dev cycle, and we're moving on because business is business.
Yeah, and that too. Having these year-around Mortal Kombats just looks embarrassing. To try to take them seriously as fighting games. It's getting harder for anything. I still like it. I think it's potential, like I said, for multiverses, since they're made by the same fucking publisher.
I just want that to exist.
They could fucking take their video game division seriously.
Really good.
But
and it's content that makes people happy, because the last time that happened, it was called Mortal Kombat X.
Yep. Damn. That was pretty fucking true there. Mortal Kombat X was the last time anyone gave a shit. That's...
No, stop!
The androids will be the end of all of us! No! I'll be right back. I gotta go. Let's... Oh! Let me find something silly. I don't know. Season 2. Oh, something random.
So in short, shit be whack, yo!
For shizzle, Master Rizzle.
Speak, Butarega. Bardock has gone absolutely mad, sire.
I'll be right back.
What's all the commotion about? He's been telling everyone that Frieza plans to destroy Vegeta. Wait, my son, the planet or me? Yes. Son of a gum-chewing funk monster! Why the fruit does all this funny stuff happen to me? Forget my life! Always surrounded by miserable, failing clods, like this whole world just likes to bend me over and find me in the Alps! Like I'm some sort of schlock receptacle.
You totally pulled our butts out of the fire there! Really showed that Team 3-star spirit!
You'll never find your body.
Are you okay?
Yeah, seems he threw my nervous system out of whack there! Can't quite feel the pain! There it is!
You're just lower than go. I wonder if there's a Denny's on this planet. I could really go for a Grand Slam.
I can't believe we came all the way out here and spent a week in the space boonies for nothing. Seriously, I'm surprised we didn't hear banjos on the way in because everybody's inbred and looks the fucking same. Not to mention I lost Dodoria and Zarbon, the latter of whom spent 400 credits making long-distance calls to his girlfriend, who I am convinced is named Chuck.
What?
Haha, that thing was a guy.
Goku, did you just read my mind?
Yeah-huh.
But how could you?
Muffin button?
What?
Huh?
Oh, I guess we're fighting the little green guy over there?
Yeah, that's Goldo. Have fun with him.
Any strategies?
Throw dog treats at him.
Oh, that help.
I'll find it hilarious.
Where are you going?
Oh, you know, places.
Places, hmm? Like that mountain over there?
Actually, that looks more like a platform. I'm still wearing weighted armor.
Oh, man, that sounded good. Now I have to do my neck. Ow, my neck!
So, Namekian, what do you think of my third form?
I think Ridley Scott's gonna sue somebody.
What are you talking about? Let me touch your skin.
Don't want to hear any of your stupid crap.
I only promised to try.
I need you to follow me on this one. Almost kill me.
Almost kill you.
Yeah,
And there's no repercussion for this.
I will not punch you.
Oddly specific.
I'm going to need a moment to prepare myself, otherwise I might go into shock. You are so punched! Little green?
No, it's Dende. Say Dende.
Dende.
Now say, please heal me, Dende.
Please heal me, Dende.
Well, since you asked so nicely,
Put the lime in the coconut and drink 'em both up. You put the lime in the coconut and drink 'em both up.
Goku, come in.
Oh, hey, King Kai.
Your friends are in trouble, Goku. Are you healed yet?
No, I don't think so.
Well, how long do you think it's gonna take?
Well, I think the machine will tell me when I'm done.
Okay, you think or you know?
You put the lime in the coconut. Come on, King Kai. They don't need my help. I bet they're doing just fine on their own.
Healers down!
Out of mana!
God, Zarbon's dead, Dodoria's dead, the Ginyus are dead. This has been one giant mess. It's just like that jockstrap incident, only now I don't have Ginyu around to dig the holes.
Shut up!
Oh my god, you actually are crying.
I'm not crying! Not!
Honestly, now I just feel bad. Usually I just blow up whatever's in my way, but with you, I've gotten kind of attached. It's sort of like putting down old Space Yella.
How is that a thing? Agwan, brethren, Vegeta. Me be a spirit animal. And me here to tell you how to mash up that bomber clot freezer. All you got to do is...
Hey, Vegeta.
Why?
Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself.
You're the one hitting me!
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat
Row,
gently
row,
down the
row
stream.
your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream.
Row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
Unfortunately, Vegeta and I were having a disagreement. He wanted himself to live, and, well, I didn't.
Why do you want to die?
But, no, I meant I want him to die.
Is it because you look weird?
What?
Laugh while you can, Frieza, because I'm about to rock you. Like a hurricane. Huh. I should have known that was only a one-hit wonder.
Kidding, he's probably in hell.
I don't know. I went to hell once. The only real bad parts were these two oiled-up German guys trying to wrestle me.
Are you real? Killing them is a kindness. I can retract that kindness if you wish. But then who's the villain?
You.
No, that was a rhetorical question.
And I gave you a rhetorical answer.
Good lord, I traded Vegeta for this.
I was almost out of the frying pan and into the lava.
How do you function?
Hey, I'm just like any other guy. I pay my taxes one leg at a time.
I'm going to drown you. I'm going to drown you like a sack of dumb puppies.
What? Why would you drown puppies?
Because they're cute and cuddly.
Are you coming on to me?
I'd like you to meet my friend.
A friend? Is he nice?
Rock solid. Filthy monkey, meet General Mountain.
Hi, General Mountain. My name's Phil. It was okay.
What? You...
It was no Donkey Kong, though. That is a pie level.
I was being coy, you imbecile. I'm trying to kill... What are you doing? Stop it! Stop it now, or I'm going to...
Huh, what's that?
Does that mean I win?
Yes! Yes! You win!
What do I win?
Another bath!
But I'm not dirt.
He's using the spirit bomb!
The spirit what's it now?
Oh, no.
Would you stop
The
screaming?
spirit bomb is the only thing that can kill Frieza!
Shut up!
Too scared!
Damn it!
He's talking about ghosts.
Ghosts.
Yeah, you know. Spirits. Ghosts.
What do ghosts have to do with this?
Everything.
That's stupid! You're stupid! Stop being stupid!
Or maybe I'm just being rhetorical.
No! No, you're not! God, it's like you just use words you hear randomly to try and sound smarter.
Well, now you're just acting transcendent.
What are you? Let go of me.
I'm going to break you.
What? Ah!
Like a Kit Kat bar.
What?
So many buttons. I forgot I don't know how to fly the ship. I could have sworn somebody did that for... Oh my god, Bulma! Help!
Listen, if you let me power up, I'll give you a pizza.
You killed my best friend, Freezer. That's not gonna work anymore.
2 pizzas.
I said I'm done!
With stuffed crust.
Goku! Am I alive? Oh, yay! I'm alive! Hope you're ready to party, because it's Vegeta Club!
Can't just... Why not? You little... Hey, monkey! You forgot your pizza!
Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. That's not a pizza. Serious, get down!
Oh, ha ha! Keep going, you stupid, inbred monkey! Daddy, I don't want to be on Namek anymore. Ah! My organs! Stay in there. Stay in your home. Daddy needs you.
Wow, Freezer. You really were a cut above the rest.
Oh.
But too bad you didn't make the cut.
Oh.
Guess you could call this a slice of life.
Please stop.
All right then, I'll cut you a break. I'm gonna split.
Can you spare a cup of energy?
Well...
No! No! No!
I'm gonna go now. Got a long trip home. I'd ask if I could take one of your legs with me, but you're probably hungry too. Come on, come on! There! Yes!
I have been dead!
Oh, well, that's not stopping you now, is it?
Do not do this right now!
Hey, you want to know how this is ending? Hey, Vegeta, want to come live with me?
Only if it's got a pool.
And I guess you want to wish back your dad now, huh?
Actually, we want to save him for last.
Yeah, like I said, you want to wish your dad back, right?
Dende, you have to wish Krillin back.
Fine. We wish back Krillin.
Krillin, you're alive! Just give him a minute.
Oh God, no, my marijuana patch! Better think of something.
I'm
cool
back.
to say
Sorry for
to make
taking
it
so long.
stop. Hey, you!
Are we still in the same?
Jeez.
No, we're on a different one.
Appreciate smartasses. Prepare yourself for my signature attack. Double sun!
No!
Huh?
Give me the mic!
What? No, come on, man!
Give me the mic!
Okay. What's in it?
Shalom, ladies and germs. Hello.
Oh, are we doing
Hi, everybody.
Yentl?
I have
Yentl.
no idea
Aw,
what
I
I'm
miss
doing. I'm in a
Scoot.
different
Sabat Shalom.
universe now. I'm Adam. I'm going through a crash.
Rest in peace. What should I watch? Uh-oh. I don't know what I want to watch. Shit. Something not too. Oh, let me watch this video. I was curious about this guy.
Hey everyone, as of late, we've had some fun mocking Terrence Howard for his delusions of grandeur, as well as Billy Carson for his lazy grifting, and even the two of them together. Well, there's some more of that to be had today, so if that's something you're into, you're in luck. Let's see what's new in their world, shall we? Just to provide a bit of context for anyone new to the channel, a while back I decided to tear apart Terrence Howard's hilarious Joe Rogan appearance where he proclaimed that 1 × 1 = 2. Then I did the same for Billy Carson's Joe Rogan appearance just a bit later, where I debunked his Ancient Aliens-style script of lies that he stole from other grifters. Then I hit Terry again when he went back on Joe Rogan with Eric Weinstein. Finally, Terry went on Billy's channel for a bizarre interview, which gave us the opportunity to laugh at them together. Well, their gullible fans must have begged for more, because Bill and Terry are at it again with their next excellent adventure, in which they will use their super awesome quantum minds to decode the Matrix. This, of course, is possible because, contrary to popular belief, The Matrix is not a movie from the 90s with Keanu Reeves like you thought, but is actually the reality we all live in. And by reality we all live in, I am of course referring to the pathetic blue-pilled fantasies of delusional narcissists who have convinced themselves they took the red pill and are walking through life as none other than Neo himself.
What?
Those are the intellectual toddlers Billy and Terry are grifting to. Well, since so many of you have asked to be kept abreast of their shenanigans, let's take a peek at what these wannabe Wachowskis have to say these days. Wow, this is just like a real movie, except instead of this being a graphic for a production company, it's just a pointless logo for a URL, which of course is Terry's website featuring his bad math and lame music meant to showcase his hat collection. I hope someone got paid for this logo, unlike the poor saps who built his drone for him.
This is going to force science to rewrite books.
This is the fractal.
Yes.
You wrap yourself in the key of that other galaxy.
Dear God, the fractal of the key of the galaxy. I hope you guys are entertained by this video because I already regret my decision to make it. These guys are really investing in themselves with this production value. I won't subject you to the entire ridiculous theme song, but Billy is right, of course. You can't put him in a box, because that would imply that he has something of enough value that would be worth selling.
Terrence Howard is a celebrated American actor known for his strong performances in movies such as Hustle and Flow and Iron Man.
No, they're not.
On March 11th, 1969 in Chicago, Illinois, to Tyrone Howard and Anita Williams.
Okay, most of you noticed on their last video that Billy spelled Terry's name incorrectly. It's supposed to be an E there, not an A. So as hilarious as it is that they didn't figure that out and are misspelling it again in front of his face, it's nowhere near as funny as the fact that Billy can't spell parents. You guys, I just told you that Billy can't spell parents. Strap in.
Terrence decided to move to New York to become an actor. At first, he enrolled as a student of chemical engineering at Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York.
Funny how there's no actual pictures of Terry doing anything academic whatsoever, such that they have to use these shitty AI animations.
That is fucking hilarious. They're using AI.
Dropping out after just 2 years, he began to make small appearances in television shows, including a part in The Cosby Show, starring Bill Cosby.
Thanks for jogging my memory about who starred in The Cosby Show, Billy. I did actually forget.
Wow.
Of course, there's no need to mention that he's a serial rapist, just like you'll never confront Terry on his serial wife beating.
Moving from television to film, Howard caught his big break with more prominent roles. The first of these was the 1995 film, Mr. Holland's Opus.
I have to apologize. In my first video on Terry, I said that I've never seen him act. I just found out that I was wrong. I've seen Mr. Holland's Opus. It's great. So I've seen him in exactly one movie. Anyway, Billy goes through Terry's entire list of IMDb credits. I'm not kidding. This is a full 5 minutes of clips from every movie Terry has ever been in. But finally, the grand introduction is over, so let's join the boys in the studio, where they are talking about the last time they spoke for that ridiculous video we covered previously.
With as crazy as it was with the connection and the bugs and everything else and the heat, the people got a lot of knowledge out of it. People really resonated with that. Yeah.
They really seem to enjoy just the back and forth and the honesty.
Yeah.
You know, we both are coming from the same kind of place. I mean, I try everything I can to be a man of integrity.
Yeah.
You know,
honesty and integrity. No two words could possibly describe these jerks better than honesty and integrity, am I right? Except maybe perpetually dishonest, or intellectually bankrupt, or charlatanry incarnate. Come up with your own at home.
I only hang out with people that have integrity. Like I used to have friends before, and they would cheat on their wives. And I'm like, how can I be a friend with you? How can I expect you to have any fidelity with our friendship when you stood in a room in a church in front of your family and her family, all your ancestors from the past, and all that you will come to be, and you promise to do something, and then you break that? You to be a friend? No, we don't do that.
Terry's imaginary friends in this anecdote are breaking their marital vows by cheating on their wives. Terry, by contrast, gallantly upholds his version of to love and to cherish by beating the crap out of his wives with closed fists. That's much better than imaginary adultery, as anyone would agree, except maybe his wives.
And so speaking of that, I mean, were you ever into religion? And if so, how did that encourage you to explore science and invention?
The Bible did say something that impressed me. It said that God was suspending the circle of the earth above nothing at all. And this is at a time when everyone considered the earth to be flat.
Right.
Terry and Billy are a little confused. A circle is a two-dimensional shape. Circles are flat. Spheres are three-dimensional, and they are not the same thing as circles. The people who wrote the Bible probably did believe the earth was flat and are objectively describing a flat shape, which is not a sphere. Whoops.
And then there was another point in Job, it says, where God was four angels are at the four corners of the earth holding back the winds. And I'm like, how does a circle have how does a sphere have four corners? You know, so that ignited a desire towards geometry and understanding it.
Circles don't have corners, neither do spheres, and circles are not spheres. Terry has never been interested in understanding geometry, which is why his grasp on the subject is less than that of the average 8-year-old.
But the necessity, in order for anything to be measurable, it had to have four equal and opposite or measurable dimensions.
Exactly.
For anything to be measurable, it has to have four equal and opposite dimensions. Terry has an uncanny ability to come up with the dumbest sentences ever spoken by any human person. Four equal and opposite dimensions? Three-dimensional objects have length, width, and height. We do not experience any fourth spatial dimension. And the three we experience are neither equal nor opposite. Vectors pointing in opposite directions are defining the same dimension. Presumably he meant size.
If they destroy
instead of
that, that's
dimensions,
game.
which would make him even dumber because he would then be describing a square. Only squares can be measured, not triangles or circles or pentagons. The cherry on top of this bullshit sundae is Billy chiming in with exactly, which means he's decided to switch up his classic catchphrase, facts. Let's see how many times Billy just says exactly after Terry says something incomprehensibly stupid.
What was your journey in learning quantum physics?
Well, you hear these stories about Einstein or these great inventors or physicists.
We can jump in right here. As you are all well aware, Terry has never learned any quantum physics. He's never learned any physics. Sorry, he's never learned any science. That's why he's going to dive into some stories.
But then the information and the theories that they present are contradictory to each other. And I was like, how are these things making any kind of progress or attempting to assist progress into advancing any math or any technology?
Well, they don't contradict each other at all. And if you're asking how quantum physics advanced math and technology, you're just admitting point blank that you know zero things about quantum physics, since physicists had to invent a whole new set of mathematical tools to describe the behavior of quanta. And the fruits of our new understanding of those quanta inform the production of every single stitch of electronics in our entire lives. Great job, moron.
By the time I got 30 or 40, you know, all of these, whether string theory was real or not, it would be proven, whether relativity was real or not. I was like, Einstein never received a Nobel Prize except for his work on the photoelectric effect, and that was Max Planck's work.
Right.
Right, says Billy, the brainless hack. No, Billy, and no, Terry, not right. The explanation of the photoelectric effect, which everyone is supposed to learn in 10th grade chemistry class, was Einstein's work. That's why he got the Nobel for it. They don't give Nobels to people for work they didn't do. That Einstein got the Nobel for that doesn't mean that relativity isn't true. It is. There are dozens of ways that we can demonstrate that relativity is consistent beyond reasonable doubt. From the very first corroboration of its predictions with the Eddington experiment, as well as the perihelion precession of Mercury, to observations of gravitational lensing, to black holes, all the way to clocks on satellites being programmed with correction factors to account for time dilation. Relativity isn't in competition with string theory, Terry. Relativity is a wildly successful model that only complete idiots try to disparage. Every word out of your mouth continues to demonstrate that you know zero things about physics.
But I couldn't get any understanding from that, so I started looking into the people that were questioning, that were enemies
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
of Einstein's ideas, in a sense. So I went into Lorentz, who in 1905, who had his own idea regarding the electron and the superpositioning of models of how everything behaved.
Einstein and Lorentz were not enemies, Terry, and that their work was somehow incompatible is the precise opposite of the truth, since Lorentz transformation equations are part of relativity. When you calculate time dilation and length contraction in special relativity, you are using Lorentz's equations, since he was the first to describe how space and time are related in different inertial reference frames, which is kind of the entire point of special relativity. Do you see what happens when you have no clue what you're talking about, Terry?
But his stuff was based off of Maxwell's work, and Maxwell's work was based off of an ether. Everyone believed that there was this subspace ether, this fabric of space.
No, not a fabric of space. Relativity involves a space-time fabric. The ether was an alleged medium that permeates space, and it doesn't exist. Yes, in Maxwell's time, people thought there was an ether. Then the Michelson-Morley experiment proved there is no ether, setting the stage for special relativity on the basis of the speed of light as a fundamental constant of the universe. In the history of science, there are crucial discoveries that change how we understand the universe. Everyone before a particular discovery believed the wrong thing. It happens a lot. It'll happen again. Catch up 140 years, idiot.
And so I looked at their work and John Keely's work, and and Victor Schauberger's work.
His work is incredible. I mean, I remember doing an episode in Deep Space, a TV series I did years and years ago, and I had studied Victor Schauberger and just like blew my mind.
That he was so conscious
Oh my goodness.
and passionate about you're killing the forest. This forest is dead.
Yes, Billy, we totally believe you that you know who that is and have studied something one time. I mean, you said his
Oh,
name and
wow.
everything. What's not to believe? I mean, you said something about deep space, and Victor was a forester and pseudoscientist, so those things go together. And then Terry said 2 vague adjectives. Oh my goodness, we are killing the Force. Help us, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're our only hope.
You've killed the water. How in the world do you kill the water?
Right.
Dr. Yamamoto didn't come out with that until, what, the 80s?
The 80s, yeah.
And Victor Schauberger had been talking about that since the late 1800s, living water.
Yeah, he was ahead of his time.
Ha ha ha, yes, the man you are referencing that I totally know about was so ahead of his time regarding the dumb fake thing you are referencing that I also totally know about. Morons, water isn't alive, so it can't be killed, and the gigantic fraud Masaru Emoto, who was not a scientist but a businessman, never even said water was alive. He pretended that talking to water would affect how it crystallizes, which it doesn't. He just made it all up. James Randi offered Emoto $1 million to recreate his fake experiment under rigidly controlled conditions, and he refused. Gee, I wonder why. Anyone who references Emoto earnestly is a gullible tool.
But I had to go in search of that. I went to school for chemical engineering or applied for electrical engineering, but I was looking at the antiquated ways in which they were dealing with the universe or their approach to it and asking questions. And they didn't have an answer.
This is just like Chris Langan pretending he was too smart for college because his imaginary calculus teacher couldn't answer his dumb question about infinitesimals. Terry, there's nothing antiquated about how universities teach chemical engineering or electrical engineering or whatever field you're pretending to have been studying. You're just too dumb and lazy to go to college.
They didn't have an answer. It was not sufficient for 96% of the universe to be unknown.
Unknown, dark matter, dark energy, which is still unknown.
Unknown,
Yeah.
unknown, unknowable.
Why the shit would an engineering course be talking about dark matter and dark energy, genius? That's astrophysics. I really wish charlatans would stop presenting this 96% unknown crap as though it means anything. Just because there is a lot of dark matter, it doesn't lessen the significance of what we understand about all the baryonic matter that's all around us. Nor is dark matter unknowable in the first place. I can't wait until physicists figure out what it is so we can finally stop being subjected to this whole song and dance.
And the 4% that they have out there, the speed of light, that's not a true constant in it because light changes its speed depending on the medium it goes through. That's like having the speed of the human race. You know, black people are going to run differently than white people, than Asians. Everything is going to change. It's a conditional fact.
Yeah.
Holy hell, what a 7-layer dip of stupidity they pump out every single minute. The 4%, like the speed of light, the 4% represents baryonic matter. Light is not matter, first of all, but the speed of light is neither light nor matter. It's just a constant. It's a number, and it is indeed a constant. Light doesn't actually change speed as it travels through different mediums. It's just forced to interact with more or fewer particles as it passes through a substance, depending on the composition and density of that substance. The actual speed of light does not change.
Oh, wait, I
That's
could use
kind of
that.
the entire basis of special relativity, genius. And
That's
if
what I
all
wanna
that
do,
wasn't
yeah.
stupid enough, he starts rambling about the speed of black people versus white people versus Asian people like a complete lunatic, and Billy the empty
I don't wanna
shell of a
lose
human
health,
that he
I
is
think.
just giggles along and says, that's a fact. What is this reality?
That was me. What about you?
Well, me, you know, yeah, it was really interesting. I loved science when I was in school, science and chemistry. I was really good at it.
Oh wow, science and chemistry? That's interesting to me, because when I was in school, I loved sports and soccer. I also loved food and french fries, but my favorite hobby was reading books and Tolstoy. Billy, you don't know what chemistry is, and you're fooling nobody.
I had already been studying aerospace technology for years. I studied aerospace technology since 1977. In 1977, I saw something in my backyard that I perceived to not be an airplane.
Billy thinks that pretending to see a UFO as a child is the same thing as studying aerospace technology. That's interesting because I saw Bigfoot when I was 10, which means I've been an anthropologist for 30 years.
It didn't have a cockpit, didn't have wings, didn't have windows on it or anything. And it came back and stopped completely silent and it just disappeared again. I ran in the house and told my mom, and she was like, there was advanced beings in the ancient past. And she told me about Machu Picchu. She said they used to live on tops of big mountains. And that was in 77.
Speaking as a black person, I hate crazy black people like this. They're just like so far into their conspiracy theory shit. My brother is like that. He's so into the conspiracy theory shit. He's so fucking insane, and that's why he lives with my parents.
Which once again is totally real and not made up at all. So we can stop hounding him about the fact that he stole his entire script of lies from Zechariah Sitchin to make money on the internet.
Fast forward, that gave me a quench and a thirst for technology, just understanding aerospace.
These people don't know what they're talking about.
And everything else. I studied all that stuff for years.
They're
Didn't
just
really dig into
babbling.
Science other than basic high school science.
No, you've never studied anything in your life, not even high school level science, and you know zero things about any of those subjects. You just have a fake space agency that is nothing more than a website because you think it makes you look smart. It doesn't.
Something happened to me with wanting to understand science at a deeper level, into quantum physics. And I really started deep diving into physics. A lot of the same people you mentioned, I was researching them, studying them heavily. I actually went to Khan University, K-H-A-N.
I'll try Ray, but I'm gonna get a little more coffee. I'll be right back. I'll let this keep playing, but I'll rewind it
Online, started taking right now
a little bit.
Smart. You just have not even what chemistry is, and
I learned science when I was in school, science and chemistry. I was really good at it.
Oh wow, science and chemistry? That's interesting to me because when I was in school, I loved sports and soccer. I also loved food and french fries, but my favorite hobby was reading books and Tolstoy. Billy, you don't know what chemistry is, and you're fooling nobody.
I had already been studying aerospace technology for years. I studied aerospace technology since 1977. In 1977, I saw something in my backyard that I perceived to not be an airplane.
Billy thinks that pretending to see a UFO as a child is the same thing as studying aerospace technology. That's interesting because I saw Bigfoot when I was 10, which means I've been an anthropologist for 30 years.
It didn't have a cockpit, didn't have wings, didn't have windows on it or anything. And it came back and stopped completely silent, and it just disappeared again. I ran in the house and told my mom, and she was like, there was advanced beings in the ancient past. And she told me about Machu Picchu. She said they used to live on tops of big mountains, and that was in 77.
Yes, in this story that is totally real and not made up at all, when Billy told his mom about the awesome UFO, without batting an eyelash, she immediately started rambling about Machu Picchu for no apparent reason, and the rest is history. What an amazing and heartwarming origin story for Billy's pathetic ancient aliens grift, which once again is totally real and not made up at all. So we can stop hounding him about the fact that he stole his entire script of lies from Zechariah Sitchin to make money on the internet.
Fast forward, that gave me a quench in the thirst for technology, just understanding aerospace, swept wing, delta wing, ballistics, and everything else. I studied all that stuff for years. Didn't get really deep into the science other than basic high school science.
No, you've never studied anything in your life, not even high school level science, and you know zero things about any of those subjects. You just have a fake space agency that is nothing more than a website because you think it makes you look smart. It doesn't.
Something happened to me with wanting to understand science at a deeper level, into quantum physics. And I really started deep diving into physics. A lot of the same people you mentioned, I was researching them, studying them heavily. I actually went to Khan University, Khan. It used to be free, but now you have to pay, I think, a minimum like $10, $15 a month or something like that right now online. An online university for quantum physics. So I went there.
Why are we gonna place called Khan University? That's so fucking sus.
No, Billy, you do not understand the first thing about any kind of physics, but much more importantly, there is no Khan University. Google Khan University. All you get is Khan Academy. He's talking about Khan Academy, a website. He's pretending that watching YouTube videos equals going to college, and that Khan Academy is specifically for quantum physics. It's like if someone said that they got a degree in quantum physics at Professor Dave University. Seriously, it's exactly like that. That's how stupid Billy thinks his viewers are. Hey, Billy, why don't you give me $100,000 and I'll give you a piece of paper with my face on it that says PhD in quantum physics? What do you think? As a bonus incentive, I'll even stop making fun of you constantly. Could be worth it, no?
And I realized that the quantum physics is really explaining what's happening on the spiritual realm. In other words, the quantum physics is the breakdown and understanding of spiritual energy and what's really happening when you're meditating, when you're focusing on things, when you're trying to manifest reality. All those things are really explained through quantum physics.
Yeah, when you meditate, there are these bubbles, and then a ball rolls across this sheet. That's how it works. The ball is you, and the bubbles are the manifesting. It's so obvious, you guys.
All of those things, all of that 4% of the universe, they've received Nobel Prizes and all of that for it, but they haven't produced anything that's changing the world or the conditions or making the world a better place. So it still looks like Solomon said, they're chasing after the wind.
Yeah, nobody in the history of physics has ever changed the world. Light bulbs, airplanes, computers, satellites, what a bunch of useless junk, am I right?
If what they said about God is true, that means I'm an artifact. That he just formed some clay and made me and blew some life into me. And they forgot to mention, or the people that was writing it, was unaware of the Brownian effect, that clay is not some dead, unliving material. That clay is alive. It's vibrating and polarizing from positive to negative.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Like when I mention wave conjugations, I always hear, oh, waves don't conjugate. It's like, no, you don't understand that these things are living and are mating. The sex principle is a big part of everything. That's how the universe reproduces itself.
My God, he is just completely manic. I don't know what's more pathetic, Terry vomiting this total nonsense like a fire hose, or Billy
fire hose? Jesus fucking Christ.
No Brownian effect. It's called Brownian.
Damn, dude, he was. I'm glad Don Cheadle replaced him in Iron Man.
Clay is not alive. Nothing is polarizing from
Terry is so fucking stupid.
Does not mate. There is no sex principle. You're just a pervert. The universe
Empire isn't even that good.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
All of this is an illusion, and to consider all of our collapsing waves, like the weight, the atmosphere, the pressure, the weight of the atmosphere, that's what holds each system together. So it should be the returning magnetic waves are responsible for the things that we call matter holding itself together. But if we just go on.
No, this is great. This is phenomenal. This is a great conversation. I think
no, it's not.
A lot out of this, and I'm so glad that we're here doing this in person, man.
Yeah, people are really getting a lot out of this if they haven't gouged their eyeballs out yet. There are no magnetic waves, and we know very well how matter holds itself together. That would be electromagnetism and the strong nuclear force.
I really think you have a magnificent mind, and whether a person went to Stanford, Harvard, or MIT or whatever, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing.
That's funny. So why do you lie to people and pretend you went to Harvard and MIT, Billy? Did you think those certificates from free, ungraded 6-week online courses make you seem smart by associating you with those universities? Smells like hypocrisy to me.
Because who was the first quantum physicist? And where did his degree come from? It didn't exist, right? There's no degree. There's no university. He went to the University of Life. And he got his degree in nature.
Okay.
I guess the first quantum physicist would have been Max Planck, and he got his doctorate at the young age of 21 at the University of Munich. Not the University of Life, Billy. That's not a thing. Even an idiot like you should know that.
And then he began to teach that to people, and then eventually they created a university, and then eventually people got a certificate for going there.
A doctorate isn't a certificate, you nitwit. All of this is you still trying to pretend that your fake certificates mean anything. Physicists get doctorates. PhDs, Billy, they don't watch videos online for 6 weeks. They first get a bachelor's degree over 4 years, and then they continue to study for 5 to 7 additional years where they do actual research. Like in a laboratory.
Dinosaurs.
Something you can't even wrap your head around. And like a toddler, Billy thinks that entire universities offer studies in only one subfield of one scientific discipline. As though quantum physics had to first exist, and then a university of quantum physics could be created that offers degrees in only quantum physics? Holy hell. I mean, I know the guy never went to college, but does he even know what a university is? Does he have even a vague idea of what they are and what happens there? The ignorance is breathtaking.
Now, what they've done is they've pedestalized all of the old inventors or theorists and physicists from before. So now it is heretical.
Yes.
Heretical.
What?
To even question.
Facts. It became a religion.
It's a religion.
No, science isn't a religion just because you're too dumb and lazy to learn science. You can question whatever you want, but you first have to understand physics well enough to even ask a coherent question, which neither of you bozos are anywhere in the ballpark of being able to do. Instead of whining about pedestals, be an adult, crack a book open, and catch up to what centuries of actual smart people have figured out with actual empirical science.
You know, I thought that by presenting patents, I thought that inventing new forms of flight, innovating multiple areas, starting being responsible for half of the AR/VR that's out there, that all of these things would be enough.
Terry, we've been over this. You haven't done any of that. You don't have patents. You didn't invent anything. You paid people to build a drone for you. Your dumb AR/VR thing is a rejected patent application. You're just lying. Everyone knows you're lying and is laughing at you, and it's not just because you're wearing a hat over your hoodie.
If it took 500 million sperm in order for me to get here and get to that egg, you know, I had to win a race against 500 million. I think getting to the next stage of our evolution and growth, if A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then everybody isn't going to make it.
Yeah.
And so I don't need to beat a dead horse in trying to encourage people to look and challenge things. You know, the material is out there. The proof is out there. I've given it, you know, sufficiently.
We are challenging things, Terry. We're challenging you on your bullshit.
God damn it.
And this cult you're trying to start to insulate yourself.
I knew something like that was coming.
Although the way Billy nervously nods and smiles no matter what you say makes me think you have at least one person hostage.
How do you maintain your morality
Kitty.
in a world that's dark and immoral? How do you avoid the puffy parties? You know, how do you avoid the Epstein ultimate effect?
Puffy parties? How do you avoid the Epstein effect? Is Terry asking for advice on how to not become the biggest pedophile sex trafficker in human history? Maybe Billy has a certificate from another 6-week online course he can point you to, Terry, but most of us don't need much help with that.
I wanted what Jesus was trying to accomplish. I didn't want what Jesus did. I wanted what he was trying to do.
Right.
So when I go about and I'm doing my very best to be the Messiah in my daily life.
Yeah.
Terry just said the quiet part out loud. You're not the Messiah, kiddo. You're not saving anyone. You're not liberating anyone. You're just some insecure, egomaniacal jerk who wants to be worshipped.
I know that all of these plants have been praying and hoping. You know, they're alive, they're conscious, they're praying in this hot California heat for someone to bring them water. And every day when I'm giving them water, I'm the extension of God. I'm making their dreams come true.
I think that's
and
game.
sometimes my wife is upset about the fact that I'm out there putting all of this time into it, but it's what moves me in hopes that when I
everything gets trampled.
There's a greater being that's able to hear it, and everybody is doing that.
It makes me laugh to imagine Terry in his garden
Whoa.
pretending to be the god of
I thought I
plants.
was doing
Most people
okay
just water plants
at the
because
beginning.
That's how you take care of plants. Terry pretends he's doing some incredible godlike thing by putting water on plants. How infantile.
You are the one that you've been waiting for. You are the savior you've been waiting on. And when people get the concept of understanding that they are their own saviors versus taking the victim mentality and trying to make an outside source into a slave, this world will change, the universe will change overnight.
Yeah, did you hear that, victims of societal oppression? You're not a victim, just be a savior. Cosplay as a savior, and all of your problems will vanish immediately. Regular Tony Robbins over here.
And we do have God's power because we have the ability to bring life or death to multitudes of creatures.
Yes.
We can blow a planet out of the sky if we want. So we have the power of God. What are we doing with it?
Exactly.
We can blow a planet out of the sky? That's news to me.
What does
Go
that
ahead and make
fucking
Mars
mean?
Explode, Terry. Show me this power of God that you possess. I'll give you $1 million if you can make Mars
When have we
explode
blown a
with your
planet out of the
But
sky?
if you can't do it, you have to give me all of your hats. Sound good?
Maybe we're just a product of this condition of when the Earth or a planet gets to this particular position from the sun, and the Earth will ultimately have to be pushed out to where Mars is, and everything will expand on it. There has to be something that tears it down.
Oh my
So
God,
maybe
what the
humanity
fuck is he
is that
talking
thing
about?
that tears down, you know, that which was put up. Maybe that is our position because apparently that's what we seem to do. We're very caustic, and I'm hoping that we can become non-caustic.
I'm
Maybe
getting
that's
my
the idea
ass
of what
beat.
Homo sapiens are. Homo sapiens. But I can no longer consider myself to be part of a Homo sapien species when they are nothing like me.
Nothing like you? Not mentally, no. You're a complete sociopath, and you should be ashamed of yourself every minute of every day. But
You can't
physically,
be
you're not
blocked by
special, Terry.
features with
You're a meat sack full of organs just like the
power
rest of us.
2
So
or
spare us this
less.
bullshit we've already debunked about the sun pooping out planets, which then slowly traverse outwards. That's not a thing, and you know it.
You know, I'm an actor because I wanted to win my mother's approval. You know, my mother wanted my son to be, my brother to be an actor, and I wanted her affection so bad that I'm like, okay, if I become an actor, I'll get her affection. But the moment she died, I realized, what am I doing this? I had no, hey, Ma, look what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, I've gotten distracted, you know, being insecure about my affection with my mother. How many more of us are pursuing things that have nothing to do with our calling or our purpose because we're trying to, my mother's been dead, you know, for damn near 20 years now.
That's funny because you've been acting this whole time. You did some acting this year. So are you still acting for your long-dead mother, or is this just your pathetic way of pretending that your true calling is this ridiculous grift you've been lobbing at us recently?
Man, you speaking true facts today. I had run many companies. I built several big companies. Before I got became Forbidden Knowledge, I was running a huge call center, 5,000 square foot call center in Fort Lauderdale, and we had about 50 people on the phones, 2 stories of this nice building, and generating about $150,000 to $200,000 a week in gross revenue, doing pretty well. But I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy because, well, you know, I wasn't living in my passion, obviously. My passion wasn't being fulfilled. It wasn't something that that I felt was my true mission here.
What a shock. Billy has the same bullshit story. He was making money, but he wasn't happy because he hadn't found his true passion, making money, but specifically on the internet. His money-making dream wasn't complete until he found a way to defraud people at the same time. Funny how Terry and Billy have the same exact dream, being cult-leading frauds. I guess that's why they're such fast friends now.
I walked into the office and went to my partners and said, guys, I'm out of here. And they said, what do you mean? I said, I have to really follow my passion. Well, I have to walk away.
I need my
I was
soundboard.
stunned and shocked because I had set this whole system up and it was very successful.
I need to add some more
Share the
sounds.
company. I said, you guys keep my share. I'm starting from zero. And I walked out and I became Forbidden Knowledge, you know, and I just started from zero.
Wow, I was going to say that Billy is clearly full of shit and obviously lying about all of that, but then I saw this stock footage of some guy walking, and now I totally believe him. Of course he gave up his imaginary share of his imaginary company for no reason whatsoever, even though he had a family to support. Why would he make that up?
Do you remember that book, Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson?
Oh, no, I don't know that
Oh,
one.
my God.
Check it out.
You'll love it, but it's a story of these 4 little creatures, 2 little mice and 2 little people, and they live outside of this enigma. What do you call it when there's, damn, I just had a senior moment.
It's like a cave?
When the mouse runs through this.
Oh, the mouse hole?
Yeah, but what is that called?
Oh, the maze.
The maze,
Yeah.
the maze. Oh, my God, I kept on the
Don't worry.
Funnier than Terry not remembering the word maze.
I need the
like
cat
how he's
army.
gesticulating the rectangular confines of something that a mouse runs through, and Billy took a stab at it with mouse hole. I would pay $1,000 to watch these idiots play Pictionary.
For me, it's been the same thing of, you know, I could be quiet and be a good actor and make millions and millions of dollars, but that's not what I wanted. What I wanted to do was to explore the truth and then share that truth with individuals.
No, you definitely
I was
wanted to be
worried
the most famous
when
actor on
he
the planet
got
and
that,
make millions of dollars,
when
Terry.
they got
You
that
wanted that really badly. That's why you went completely insane when you got fired
fucking
from the Marvel Cinematic
dinosaur,
Universe.
this
You missed out
motherfucker,
on fame and money
elder
because you're an
dinosaur.
insufferable maniac.
I hate
So
this
now you're
car
trying to
when it
start a
comes
cult
out
by
because I
pretending
know
that
it's
you
gonna
didn't
be
care about
scary
anything
as
while
fuck.
continuing to take any acting role anyone will give you.
It's a scary looking car
So I
too.
knew that they didn't have facts. They just had propaganda. They didn't have any facts behind them, or these theories would no longer be theories.
My
They'd be
cat's won.
constants and accepted things.
Thank
in
you,
there.
helpful
They
hunter.
wouldn't be theories, they would
Thank
be
you,
constants.
cat
It goes without
token
saying that Terry
creature.
doesn't know what either of those words
Thank
mean,
you,
but the way he just pretends that
form
literally all
familiar
of science is propaganda
cat
is the most pathetic toddler take imaginable.
and
Hey asshole, what's this?
your
This thing in your pocket that you
disguise
press to make
form
everything
familiar.
happen. How does it work? Explain it to me without any
And your
science.
cat
Explain it
collector.
to me without mentioning atoms, or
Thank
forces,
you.
or pressure, or electronics, or any of the propaganda you're talking about. How do you manage to piss me off this much, even when I already know what you're going to say? It's almost impressive.
And I had the actual proof. I had simple proof down
That's
to
a cute box.
the malfunctioning of the calculator and the things that they hold as important and reliable. I'm like, no, this is you can't rely on.
It's flawed.
It's flawed. The foundation of your entire world is flawed, and I'm presenting the truth and with proof. And I say it's the truth because it comes with the proof of it.
Yeah.
You know, it.
No, you bring the receipts.
Yes.
You know, that's what you bring in the receipts, and that's what matters.
Terry, that you don't know how to use a calculator isn't proof of anything. Everything you say about math has been proven wrong to your face, and I would love to see a receipt for your calculator, but I would bet money that you stole it.
It's not really a law or a constant, but I guess it might be considered a constant hypothetically. Love, right? And which is a frequency. And if you look at like the movie Star Wars, the Jedi, they use the frequency for the light, and then the Empire uses the same frequency for the dark.
No, love is not a frequency. That's meaningless.
But-
I would give one of my kidneys if the whole world could just learn what the word frequency means. And don't start on Star Wars, Billy. We've had it bad enough with the crap Disney has been shoveling out. We don't need to hear you pretend to know how the Force works. The Force isn't a frequency. Frequency means cycles per unit time. Cycles of what? When you say the word frequency by itself, instead of referencing the oscillating or recurring thing that exhibits a frequency, you sound like an idiot.
So if we go to my book, tcotlc.com, this is kind of the journey of how these wave conjugations came about.
Okay.
I was told that our fundamentals came from the Platonic solids.
Who told you that, Terry? Give me a name. Tell me the name of the imaginary person who told you that anything in science is somehow derived from the Platonic solids, because it isn't at all.
I was like, so where did the straight line come from? You know, here I am asking, you know, how did God come to be?
Right.
You know, because God is the straight line.
Oh,
So
my
they say, you wanna
Lord.
straighten something out. If there's any situation that's wiggly, you know, let's put a ruler on it. Let's straighten this out. Let's get it all squared away. So that's their kind of God. I was like, let me look at this.
God is a straight line now? There's nothing wiggly in the entire universe? Don't you also say that there are no straight lines? So are you admitting there is no God? Do you ever listen to yourself talk so you can even try to avoid contradicting yourself every 10 seconds?
The creator demands equanimity. Everything has an equal and opposite reaction. Therefore, every reaction is going to be curved and based on the angular momentum that's created from the intersection.
Man's equanimity? I would ask if you know what that word means, but I know you don't. Every reaction is going to be curved? Why? You've never seen motion along one dimension? Two pool balls strike each other along a straight line with the same kinetic energy and stop. Where's the curve there, genius? Where's the angular momentum? Please, straight line God, get me to the end of this.
Now, here's the flower of life.
Okay.
You know?
Yep.
As the age of it is almost unknown, but each and every, it's 64 overlapping circles, but there are no straight lines there. But at a time when the thought was that there were straight lines or the world was flat, guess what they did? They averaged the spaces where the circles overlap.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh, that's an average. That's an approximation. That's not real.
Right.
Terry, you put the circles there and then just drew a shape on top of it. Anyone can do that with any shape. This is not how the Platonic solids were derived. They're called Platonic because they came from Plato, the Greek philosopher, and he explained quite clearly how they were derived in his dialogue, Timaeus. They're built from right triangles. You're more full of shit than a septic tank.
If I take 4 of these triangular pieces and put them together, based on universal ratios, then it gave me this negative space where 4 bubbles met.
Right.
And based on what Walter Russell had talked about in the nature of how electricity moves, it's always seeking a higher pressure condition.
What universal ratios? Ratios of what? And how are they universal? And these aren't triangles. Triangles have straight lines for sides. And electricity is not seeking a higher pressure condition. Electricity is not even matter. It's a word that describes the flow of charged particles. And particles definitely are not moving towards anything with higher pressure. Entropy dictates that matter will tend to spread out in space, moving towards lower pressure. Everything you say is exactly dead wrong.
This area right here is where electricity is going to be spinning northeasterly, spinning to the right. Now, as the electricity, as each wave hits here, now it's being pushed by other waveforms, and so it gets pushed out to these vortices at the tip, and now it's no longer able to spin northeast, and so it starts, because it has low density, it has nothing to push against, so it starts spinning southwesterly.
Gotcha.
And now this is where it becomes magnetism.
Gotcha. Do you, Billy? Do you gotcha? Could you pass a quiz on electricity and magnetism now? It's just barely even worth dissecting this. The level of gibberish is that profound. What electricity? Where? What are you talking about? How can a word that only describes a property of particles spin? And how can spinning be done in a linear cardinal direction? Pushed by other waveforms? That's the shape of a wave. It doesn't even mean a wave itself, which wouldn't have made sense to say in the first place. Vortices? Where is the vortex? You mean vertices, you nitwit. It has no density, so it becomes magnetism. Terry is always in a contest to see how meaningless a sentence can be, and he is always winning.
8 contractive sides for the Huntian. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5, 6, 7, 8 if you were to turn it all the way around. But it only had 6 magnetic poles. So that meant that it had a greater electrical potential than a magnetic or repulsive potential. And I was like, wow, that sounds like a neutron.
Yes.
How the shit does any of that gibberish sound like a neutron, Terry? Oh, right, you're an idiot who thinks the nucleus is held together like magnets. These are not poles. They're not electric or magnetic anything. Electricity and magnetism are part of the same force, electromagnetism, which is both attractive and repulsive, and none of that has anything to do with the strong nuclear force that keeps the atomic nucleus together, despite the repulsion from protons of like charge. You're dumber than rocks.
If you take flour or small amounts of rocks and take them into orbit around Earth and then release them, they're going to naturally attract, and the pressure conditions are going to create an accretion disk, and that accretion disk is going to begin to spin on its axis, which is the formation of planets.
If you bring flour and rocks into orbit, they will form an accretion disk. Will they really, Billy? There's a lot of debris up in orbit already. Why hasn't that collected into a little moon yet? Is it because you have no idea what you're talking about? What you're pretending to reference is a protoplanetary disk, which is how planets do actually form around a new star, and that contradicts Terry's sun poop hypothesis, so I would advise you to tread carefully here. But Terry doesn't listen when you're talking, so you should be safe.
And they create these natural icosahedrons when you put 2 of them on top of each other. I was like, this is the building blocks of the universe.
It's the building blocks of the universe. You're talking about the fractal matrix.
How are these the building blocks of anything in the universe? Show me anything in the universe that's made from your dumb shapes. One thing. And then, of course, Billy jumps in with fractal matrix. 2 words that don't fit at all with these dumb shapes and don't even fit with each other, just to sound as dumb as humanly possible. Billy, this is a fractal, a geometric shape with a complex repeating pattern that appears similar at different scales. This is a matrix, a rectangular array of numbers or symbols. So enlighten me, Billy boy. What the fuck is a fractal matrix? I'll wait.
Watch this. This is us taking a basic physics simulator, the same simulator that they use at Princeton, at Oxford, that the students use at Harvard. It ultimately rebuilt the planet Saturn with its rings, and the hexagon that's found at the top. And
Is
this
that
is
guy?
without animation. This is without any fudgery or pushing. And this is without gravity.
No, Terry, we went over this. This is Blender, a program that is used for animation, visual effects, and motion graphics. This is not simulating anything. Nobody at Harvard or Oxford or any other smart people place you want to reference is using this to do any simulations. This is indeed specifically just an animation. You're lying your ass off. That's why you don't actually show us the simulation or demonstrate any of these parameters. You just have this one crappy movie.
It's incredible that it even creates the hexagonal shape at the top of Saturn.
At the top.
Which has been a big question mark.
Of how that came to be.
Right. But it's through the natural formation, through this process of the opening of this flower of life, the energy pattern that exists throughout the known universe, and involved in the accretion process of creating the planet, and then you get this shape, this formation.
It's not a question mark at all. You're just too lazy to Google it. Jet streams and convection, fellas. No flower of life needed. But keep saying the word accretion for no reason. It makes you sound super smart.
Just so the audience will understand. It says the following models are gravity-free physics simulations and are not animations nor CGI graphics in the standard sense, as there are no keyframe animations present.
No, they are not simulations. They are animations. That's why you made them with animation software and not simulation software. People caught you telling this dumb lie, and this is you responding to being called out for lying. And you settled on nuh-uh instead of actually showing anybody any kind of simulation. Very convincing.
You're talking about right now we're type 0 civilization. You skipped over type 1 and went straight to type 2 civilization. You know, on the scale that they have for civilizations that could exist in the universe.
Uh-oh, Billy wants to spew some more bullshit about the Cars dev scale. No, Terry did not create a Type 2 civilization. He did not create a civilization that has total control over its star. He made a shitty movie.
This is what made me say, man, this guy figured out something that's so incredible, so dynamic. This is what should be on the mainstream news every night instead of the garbage that they've been feeding us. This is going to force science to rewrite books.
This is the practice.
Yes.
Stop saying fractal. You could learn what a fractal is in 10 seconds, but you don't do it. Although I do agree with Billy, if the mainstream news would devote less time to propaganda and more time to mocking idiots like you, the world would be a slightly better place.
This is the four corners that existed, that the Bible was talking about. The center of the earth. In order for this to exist, there's a sphere in here, a sphere in here, a sphere in here, and a sphere in here, and these four spheres interacting are responsible for all effects of nature.
Right.
What spheres, Terry? What are you talking about? Are the spheres in the room with us now? And how are nondescript spheres that don't exist responsible for all the effects of nature? What is an effect of nature? Do you mean a force of nature? I can't do this.
Which I saw the tangential flight from you when we had our live, months ago. But can you pull that video up, because that blew my mind.
Yes.
Because then I saw an application of the science. So it's one thing to have ideas, concepts, theories, but once you can see it being applied, it changes your concept and understanding of it completely.
Here's four of them coming together.
Yeah.
And out of the vortices, we've attached now arms.
Mm-hmm.
But the four of these will now come together and lift this 50-pound barrel.
Yeah.
Terry, this is another animation. This isn't real. You paid somebody to make a drone, but it didn't innovate anything new. Omnidirectional flight already existed. They just did it with your dumb shape. And Billy, I'm sorry, that he made a toy with his made-up shape doesn't in any way validate all the bullshit he says about magnetic this and pressure condition that. It's all still total gibberish.
This starts making you even ask questions like, could this technology have existed in the ancient past?
It had to.
Potentially help to build some of these megalithic structures.
It had to.
Yeah, because you can lift an incredible amount of weight with this technology.
Uh-oh, a Billy-Terry crossover. Terry's dumb shapes might make an appearance in Billy's dumb Anunnaki stories. That should be fun.
So depending upon how much electricity you run in through one thimble of water, you can send something into space,
Probably shouldn't have done
or
that.
you can, send it outside of the solar system. It's
I was just
able to
cooking
launch,
shit.
and that's the goal, was for the linchpins to be launched into space.
Hey, moron, we talked about this. Your drones have propellers. They push air. They can't fly in space where there is no air. A small child could understand this. You are more clueless than a small child.
The first one is faster than light communications. FTL communications. We're talking about quantum entangled communication. Leveraging the Howard comma as a natural quantum error correction tool, this FTL communication system could enable instantaneous long-distance messaging by keeping the quantum state stable over vast distances. And that's really been one of my dreams, actually, is to be involved in some kind of way creating this, or being involved in a company building a quantum communications device.
Okay, morons, so do it. Invent faster than light communication. Stop podcasting, go into the lab, and make it happen. If you can do it, I'll delete all my content mocking you, issue a public apology, and buy stock in your new company. This is your big dream, right, Billy? So what are you doing wasting your time talking to the public? Be that brilliant innovator you want everyone to think you are. Actually fucking do something.
The linchpin, or the Howard comma, is able to keep communication, and is able to predict where this particular object or particle will be, and be able to maintain subspace communication. It doesn't matter the speed it was traveling at, or its position, or what field it's going through. It's able to predict all distribution of matter.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
It doesn't get. I don't care what they've been doing in these universities. None of it comes up to this. I'm gonna throw modesty aside.
Terry, you don't have to worry about throwing modesty aside. You've never had an ounce of it your entire life. What is this bullshit now? You can predict where what particle will be? Billy's cartoon with the rolling balls isn't helping. What did you predict and where is your demonstration of it? You know that saying you did something doesn't mean anything when you clearly did not do that, right?
I didn't tell them what the true value of pi was. Yeah. There's a lot of things that I've left out.
We already know the value of pi, Terry. And Billy, this is the letter phi. Pi and phi are different letters, which represent different things. And I guarantee neither of you could define what they represent, especially since you tried to do it with the golden ratio right here and failed miserably. I'm glad you actually took the 10 seconds required to copy and paste this from the Adobe website, but you missed the key component of what the ratio actually represents. That being the ratio of the sum of two numbers to the larger value, which is equal to the ratio of the larger value to the smaller value. That's the whole point.
You know, pi is a whole number. Pi is not 3.1415, 9265, 35, 89, 793. That's not the value of pi. Pi is a whole number.
Oh, wow.
No, pi is not a whole number. It is indeed the number you rattled off, hoping that anyone would be impressed that you memorized a dozen digits. That is the value of pi. If that wasn't the value of pi, you could go ahead and draw a circle, measure the diameter, then measure the circumference, and show that the ratio between them is whatever whole number you're pretending it is. But it won't be that. It'll be pi, because that's what pi is. You're the single dumbest person in human history.
And so our universe expands out like our solar systems expands out in the Oort cloud, and it bumps into other solar systems, which regenerate it. And then when four of them come together at 120-degree angles, then guess what? They convert back into from magnetism and expanding into an electric charge.
Our solar system does what? It bumps into other solar systems? Yeah, I must have missed that. When did that happen? Because no, it fucking didn't. And now four systems are supposed to collide at the same time at some random angle you're not actually defining properly and turn into electric charge? Four solar systems bump into each other and magically morph into a singular flow of charged particles. What are we doing here?
I'm a witness to what happened. So I didn't eat for a couple of weeks, and I lost 22 pounds. My body cannibalized itself. I reset everything.
You're all clear again.
I'm all clear. I'm completely reset.
Just when you thought Billy couldn't get any dumber, he finds a new level by acting surprised that he lost weight by not eating for 2 weeks. Also, he did not do that, and he didn't reset. That doesn't mean anything.
It's life-changing because now you can have deep space travel because one of the biggest problems is, let's say we hop on a spaceship and we're using conventional rocketry and we get ourselves all the way out to Jupiter and we want to communicate back with home base on Earth. That's going to take a long time. It'll take a month.
They'll be bouncing it in their straight line ideas in comparison.
Jupiter is 34 to 52 light minutes away from Earth at any given time. That's how long it would take for communications to travel between the two planets. 34 to 52 minutes. Not a month, Billy. Use your brain. And no, Terry, they don't have to bounce anything. The signals are sent linearly, from one point to another point. Scary straight lines.
We are producing linchpin. We are producing our lives. We are producing the harmonic wave resequencer, you know, as we speak. We have my people working on all of this stuff. So you just won't be a part of the future if you don't apply yourself to the present.
Yes, we all look forward to the big reveal of your harmonic whatever the hell you're talking about. We totally believe that you have real scientists working on real things, even though you obviously would be inundating us with pictures and footage of them working if you were actually doing anything.
Scientists did experiments with pyramids, tetrahedrons, and they found that if you put plants and grow plants inside of a tetrahedron shape, the plants grow faster because it harnesses more energy, more natural energy from the universe.
Resonant energy that's going back and forth, that oscillatory thing.
No, that is not a thing that happened. That's why you're not referencing any actual study and just showing some dumb cartoon that doesn't even depict any plants.
Another one they said, quantum-based cosmic internet. So we have the World Wide Web, but they're talking about the cosmic web, right? So they say an interconnected web of quantum communication channels stabilized by the Howard comma, enabling near-instant data transfer between planetary systems. We can be on Mars and instantaneously get something off Google from here.
Apart from this being obvious bullshit, my favorite part is that Billy doesn't know what a planetary system means. Mars and Earth are part of the same planetary system, you nitwit. The solar system. Another system would be found around some other star. How does anyone get this stupid? Anyway, there's still about another half hour of high-octane word salad shooting. I mean, really the purest, most condensed, meaningless bullshit I've ever heard coming out of a human mouth. Nobody does it like Terry, but I'm tapping out here. I can't bear another second of these asshats pretending they've figured out faster-than-light travel, teleportation, all this crazy sci-fi stuff, when they have absolutely nothing to show for themselves but YouTube videos full of stock footage. It's the most pathetic thing imaginable. Let's just close with one more disgusting tirade from Terry.
You know, my nature, you know, even though I've played so many bad guys, like, I will take my time and will not kill anything in my house. You know, I call the fly while it's trying to land someplace, even though my wife wants me to kill it because it spread germs. I'm just calling it Terry, because I know Terry doesn't want to be locked inside this house and doesn't want to get hit with this fly swatter.
Oh, wait, it came at the end of turn.
Way out. You know, come on, Terry, just be still. And I put that energy out, and 9 times out of 10, I'm always able to capture it and take it outside, and, you know, and I feel this weight lifted off of me. Because they walk in there thinking that everything's going to be fine and exploring. They don't know it's a death trap. You know, and they don't want to destroy your food. They're just trying to cooperate and coexist with us. So we have to start recognizing, you know, an ant lives for 15 years on average. When you smash one of them, you're destroying great relationships.
Yeah, ants don't live for 15 years, genius. Male ants live for a few days. Worker ants live a few weeks or months. Why do you insist on pulling the most trivial and easily Googleable things completely out of your ass? It's like saying New York City is the capital of America. Everybody knows that. How much of an inveterate liar do you have to be to lie this consistently about literally everything you say? It's astounding. But of course, the far more egregious aspect of this rant is this song and dance about gentle old
This is
Ted
my first
who
time
can't
ever
even
really
bring himself to
using
hurt
this
a fly
card.
when he's been caught beating the crap out of every woman he's ever been with.
This,
This is narcissistic gaslighting behavior that
fucking
sociopaths use to ensnare their
synergy.
victims. For anyone out there
Oh,
who
they're
thinks mean
gone.
old Dave is just picking on poor dumb Terry for no good reason, stop pearl clutching and see who this guy really is.
That fucking
He is
cat.
an absolute scumbag, and this new grift
And
is
I
only
kept
going to end
getting my
before
fucking
I can say
revival
more
counters
words.
back.
As for Billy, we already talked about
I
the
was
damage he did in
using
previous
the
videos, pretending to lift poor black people out of poverty when in fact he's
form
keeping them in
familiar
by discouraging them from pursuing actual knowledge
to
that
bounce
would lead
it
to a
back
real
up
career, just so that they can send him their money
in
for
my
crappy
hand.
books full of lies and expensive products
Is
that
that
don't do anything.
broken?
It's
I
not
don't
as
know.
bad as beating up women, but he's a piece of garbage all the same.
You know, when I go a lot of places because I'm 6'4".
I love this card.
Did you play basketball?
It's so cool
Did you play
looking.
football? What do you do for a living? I tell 'em, I'm
It
a
reminds
scientist.
me of my black
I'm a
cat
scientist,
that
that's what I
passed
do.
away
And you
last year.
just to see the look on a lot of these people's faces when you first meet
Fanny,
them. They're like,
a
"I'm a
phantom.
scientist." Like they're completely
I
shocked.
miss him. He was in my
Just like,
black
I'm just a scientist. You
Siamese.
can see it in their eyes.
There's only one black scientist. That's Neil deGrasse.
You're not a scientist, Billy. On the list of things you aren't a scientist the most. And I hate
Stretch
to
for a
admit to
second.
both of you morons, there are thousands of black scientists, not just Neil, and all of them would be deeply, deeply ashamed of you. So that's it for this installment of Bill and Terry's Adventures in the Matrix. I don't know how they managed to keep getting even dumber, but it doesn't seem like they'll stop anytime soon. So we'll just have to wait and see what bogus journey they embark upon next. Until then.
What? The flush. What's in my watch later? Oh yeah, I was watching this. I'll finish it. It was kind of interesting. It's pretty interesting,
Don't
actually.
seem to be remembered. You look at the credits of Sleeping Beauty and we focus on Ivan Earl's name, but not any of the other artists, like, well, he touched the very pilot episode of was on Sleeping Beauty. And this is where things get a little muddy, so just hang in there with me. Some sources say that Paraguay only painted the backgrounds for the pilot episode of Scooby-Doo, while his team of other artists handled the rest of the episodes. Now this is strange, because if you obsessively rewatch Scooby-Doo, like everyone does, I assume, the backgrounds in episode 1 are rubbish, frankly. The story mostly takes place in a well-lit and well-maintained art museum. It's not scary at all, which granted does make sense because we know that the team was specifically told to tone it down. But still, episode 2 is also pretty tame, with establishing shots being mostly mid-tones with minimal contrast. Then, all of that is thrown away with episode 3's very first shot of a decrepit castle entombed in darkness that looks as if it's hovering in a still liminal space outside of time. This episode, Hassle in the Castle, is where Scooby-Doo really kicks off, in my opinion. And it's aided significantly by the
I always
Now,
like the
those more
quotes
skulls,
on,
most impressive, key shots, the key background
the,
that I'm showing off in this video. That is the sort of thing that a background
cards.
stylist would typically handle, while the rest of the team of background artists did the sort of, they would help flesh out the rest of the episode.
When there are quotes.
So then the
Sometimes
question
there aren't
is,
quotes.
Are we to believe that Walt Paraguay only touched the very pilot
Like,
episode
this
of
one doesn't have a
Scooby-Doo,
quote, but
and literally
I don't think it has
nothing else?
one.
I really don't know. In the interview that I've been referencing throughout
Excuse
this
me.
whole video, while he doesn't particularly mention Scooby-Doo in this next clip,
No, I think the
Paraguay
text
does
is used for,
specifically say that he always painted the key
the
backgrounds
disguise
for any project he
explanation.
worked on at Hanna-Barbera.
When I went to work for Hanna-Barbera, I had my
Uh,
background department. I did
which one
everything
is?
my way. Until Joe Barbera
That
came
one.
to me and
Safari's
said,
body
"You know, I
couldn't
know you
travel
didn't do
through
these
time
keys.
far
Those
enough,
punks
but
that
with
work for you up there in
Kaya's
the
help,
background
his spirit could.
did 'em." I said, "No, you're wrong. They're mine, and they're not punks."
So I don't really know what the true answer is here, but at the very least, I am
Why
glad
so
that
many?
he does
Because they need a
recognize and
home,
defend
just like I
his
once
team
did.
of other background artists.
This entire operation puts one in mind of a symphony orchestra, where men who are good enough to be soloists in their own right are thinking only of the effect they are producing on the whole.
Animation is seldom a solo act. Every shadowed forest and menacing manner comes from a team of artists, each contributing their own brushstrokes to this haunted world. Yet their names don't seem to be remembered. You look at the credits of Sleeping Beauty and we focus on Ivan Earl's name, but not any of the other
Her
artists.
master gathered the bones to resurrect
And
her,
when a similar list pops up
only
in
to
the
find
credits
her
of Scooby-Doo, we focus
burning on the
Paraguay,
altar.
but not any of these other artists.
That one's
Artists of
cool.
these background paintings always place Walt Paraguay at the center, as if he's the sole artist responsible for them. And it's not lost on me that that's exactly what I've done with this video so far. The thing is, our understanding of Scooby-Doo's production history has been largely pieced together by scattered resources and archives, some likely lost entirely. I was only able to find that post by Ruby and Spears through the Internet Archive, an invaluable resource that came under threat recently from a DDoS attack, highlighting just how fragile our digital records are and how easily we could lose access to the truth found in first-hand accounts. Even seemingly simple stuff, like Walt Paraguay's history with Disney, can be called into question. Remember how I said that Paraguay started working for Disney as an in-betweener before World War II? Look, it says it right here on his Wikipedia entry without any sources. I specifically told you to remember this. Well, in an interview that he did with the Animation Guild, Paraguay himself refutes this.
According to all of the information I got, you started as an in-between.
This card's good.
No, I started as a traffic boy, and I worked 2 months. I quit because I didn't want to work in a factory.
I love car
Disney Animation was a factory.
car
This interview
calls.
was nearly 10 years ago. Somebody update the wiki! And while you're at it, can you please fix this typo? It's been bothering me the whole time I've been working on this video, which is like 2 years.
Okada's
By the way,
closest
wonderful artist
advisors
Sasha
are
made
known
his
as her
first thumbnail
chosen,
in 2021, and I've just been sitting on
though
it.
others may have a
Sorry
better
about that.
claim to that
I mean, I did
make.
pay him. This interview with Paraguay is hugely important, which is why, fittingly, it too has gone unrecognized, just like many of the artists who worked with him for Scooby-Doo's background art.
But like I say, I'm proud of it. I had 36
That'd be awesome to have like a gang of car calls as your like guards.
keys verbatim. I mean, they were talented artists. Who
Car calls are so cool, but they're wild animals. Russians. I always see videos of Russians having car calls as like pets.
Talented ones committed suicide, just
Aw.
like his old 101 Dalmatians partner.
What? That's so fucking sad, dude. I didn't know that. Shit.
Follow my work creatively.
So at this point in the interview, Paraguay starts reminiscing about his team of artists at Hanna-Barbera. He recalls that one of the more talented ones committed suicide, just like his old 101 Dalmatians partner, Ernie Nordley. And Paraguay wants to make sure that their names are remembered. But there's a problem.
I mean, there were so many of them that had no talent. And the one that committed suicide had talent. And of course, wouldn't you know, he would commit suicide. And Ernie Nordley committed suicide. Great artist. Jesus, of course, the animation. If you get a chance, I hope you'll remember a name like Ernie Nordley. And, what's that? Well, I can't remember his name. He committed suicide.
Walt Paraguay was 90 years old in this interview. You can't really fault him for having holes in his memory. Like, at one point, he goes off on a tangent about how another artist named Frank Armitage got all of the credit for the background art for 101 Dalmatians, but Armitage never got credited at all for that film. Maybe Walt was thinking of The Jungle Book or Sleeping Beauty again, but we'll never really know for sure, and that's really not the point either. It is genuinely heartbreaking to hear a man rant on and on and on about not receiving proper credit for his work, and then find himself unable to name any artist that worked under him at Hanna-Barbera. The credits of each episode of Scooby-Doo, however, do list the names of each background artist. And if you'll indulge me, and also at the serious risk of mispronouncing all of them, I would like to take this opportunity to speak all of their names out loud in a video to help preserve their artistic legacies. Ron Diaz, Daniela Bilecka, Gary Niblitz, and Roly Olivia all worked as background artists for Season 1 of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, under the styling of Walt Paraguay, of course. The background stylist for Season 2 was Fernando Montealegre, with background painters expanding to a larger team with Rene Garcia, Richard Kim, Bob Gentle, Peter Van Elk, Curtis Perkins, Gino Giudice, Eric Simones, and Gary Niblet once again. These artists, with their soul-stirring work, defied simply fading into the background. And I hope their names don't either.
And Disney made sure that nobody knows them. Well, like me.
I know it's silly to get so heavy in a video about a children's cartoon, but the fact that we are actively losing important chunks of history from Hanna-Barbera's most well-known and successful franchise speaks volumes about the fragility of the animation industry and artistic legacies. And quite frankly, no one painting these backgrounds had to go as hard as they did, and I can't think of a better metaphor for art than pouring so much of yourself to create something beautiful that will largely go unnoticed. But there's a hope there. A hope that someone, at some point, maybe decades after it's created, will stumble across your work and feel moved by it. It won't just fill the background. It will shape a world. There's a certain magic in building entire worlds from the ground up, complete with their own rules, characters, and even impending doom. This creative spirit is something I found echoed in tabletop gaming. It's a medium where imagination reigns supreme, allowing us to explore new realms and narratives together. I play a lot with Em and her parents, but the trick is we all have different tastes. Em and I love games that turn on our imagination and have us immersed in new worlds with unique characters. Emily's mom loves games that are easy to set up and don't have overly complicated rules. And then we have Emily's dad, who is extremely competitive with strategy and planning to the point where we're not really playing against one another, we're all playing against him. And no game has been more successful at balancing all of these play styles than today's sponsor, Doomlings. It's a game where you play God, evolving new species of life to be more adaptable, resilient, or just downright mischievous by playing unique trait cards that also score you points. But here's the twist. You're doing it while the world is ending. Survive through different ages that constantly introduce new challenges, and dodge catastrophes that shake up the gameplay. But once that third catastrophe hits, the world ends. It's game over, and players tally up their scores to see who came out on top. The stakes are dire, but the game itself is very cute and whimsical. Think of Doomlings as Exploding Kittens meets Munchkin, right? It's quick to set up, easy to parse winning strategies, while remaining just chaotic enough to make each playthrough memorable, making everyone immediately itch for another round. And much like the species in the game, Doomlings itself keeps evolving with new expansion packs like Imaginary Ends. There are 127 new unique cards in the Imaginary Ends expansion, with 5 entirely new varieties of Doomlings that each introduce new playstyles, as well as completely new mechanics to the game. The Magical Merchants, for example, introduces a trinket system, which adds a whole new layer to the game. And just look at these little guys! They're so cute! Each box also comes with a mystery holofoil from the Imaginary Ends collection. You can get alt art cards from these holofoils and even rare, never-before-seen characters. This new expansion is out right now and only available on Doomlings.com. However, and don't tell anyone I told you about this, but you
Why
can
would
get
you do that?
20% off of your order by using NerdSync20 at checkout, or you can click the link in the description below. Let the end begin! Thank you so much for watching this video. I don't think I even remembered to greet you by saying, how are you doing, you wonderful nerds? I don't even think I introduced myself, so my name is Scott, reminding you to explore your favorite art through curiosity and vulnerability. See ya.
For the last 4 episodes, I've been hinting at something I call the nuclear town theory, and how it could go a long way towards explaining the unintuitive floor plan and aesthetic inconsistencies of the Spencer Mansion. It's not really something that deserves its own episode, and that's definitely not what this is, but I do think we should take a moment to establish what the theory is, and even go back to what we've covered in the previous episodes, to see whether or not it holds water. After that, we'll take what we've covered and apply it to the rest of the available rooms on the first floor of the East Wing. Thing is, as this series has gone on, and I've taken a harder look at the mansion than anyone probably should, I've started to notice some things that contradict this weird theory I've been cooking up. And the truth behind why the mansion is so strangely designed could end up being even weirder than I ever could have imagined. This is part 5 of Overthinking Resident Evil. Let's get right into it. Back in the day, the US military would build full-scale towns on bomb testing sites to get a look at the effects their weapons would have on their potential targets. They called them Doom Towns. When I was first playing this game, and cooking up this series, one of the things that most perplexed me was how inconsistent the mansion interiors were. It swung wildly from expensive marble to your grandma's house to just plain unfinished. As time went on, I noticed similarities between certain rooms. Not only that, but there were common threads beyond basic aesthetics that tied them together. Sometimes proximity, sometimes purpose. And in search of an answer as to why some areas seem to be in much better condition than others, I came up with the nuclear town theory. The Spencer Mansion was built to be destroyed. But unlike Doom Towns, it wasn't built to test the bomb that took it out, but a different weapon entirely, the BOWs. I don't believe it was repurposed as a testing ground. I think it was always supposed to be a testing ground. Further, I think it was always meant to be destroyed. You can argue against that general idea fairly easily, especially coming at it from the remake, but no one puts a bomb big enough to take out the mansion above and the lab below without thinking they're going to need it. So here's how this video is going to go. We're going to go through all the rooms we've looked at before and view them through the lens of the theory I just outlined. Then we'll go through the rest of the first floor's East Wing. Finally, I want to go into a new theory that potentially contradicts the premise of this episode entirely. Let's start from the start. The first room in the game, the entrance hall, doesn't do a lot to sell my theory, but I'd argue that's exactly the point. The money's up front, where we can see it. It looks grand and expensive. If this were the only room a visitor were to see, they'd probably just assume the rest of the mansion is more or less the same, huge and expensive looking. And if they were to step into the dining hall, that'd just reinforce this belief. It looks a whole lot like the entrance hall, and is very likely the room where most guests, expected or unexpected, invited or uninvited, would be ushered into. Again, the money's on the screen, so to speak. It's entirely likely that many people could have paid a visit to the Spencer Mansion and not gotten much further than this room. The tea room's the first change, and it's a big one. Large, opulent rooms made of marble are traded for a cramped hallway with floorboards and wallpaper. It's not exactly cheap, and it's not completely out of place in the mansion, but it is a jarring change. I don't think the change is a complete deal breaker, but in terms of the big picture, it certainly helps with my theory. Something worth paying attention to is how rooms like this one change the further out we get from the center of the mansion. For example, the exhibition room is one door removed from the entrance hall, and like the dining hall, it's relatively similar in, well, not style, but expensiveness, I guess. It's visually quite unlike any other room we've seen in the series so far, but you can overlook that as the exhibition room is a room with a unique purpose, to display art, and the look of the room reflects that. But go one more room down into the L-shaped corridor, and like the tea room, the change is pretty noticeable. It's not exactly a cheap looking room, but it definitely looks a lot less expensive and fancy than the rooms that preceded it. Like the tea room, this is 2 rooms removed from the center. The northeast corridor is arguably the worst room we've seen so far. Awkward design, no natural light, kinda cheap and bare bones. Something worth noting is its stylistic similarity to the tea room. There's a couple of things to take away from this room, but the shape of it is the most relevant detail. The only bathroom in the house is unlike any room we've seen so far, though there are rooms we'll look at this episode and later on in the series that are aesthetically similar. The fact that this is the only bathroom in the mansion is not an insignificant detail in the theory. Neither is the fact that it doesn't seem to have been originally designed to be a bathroom, having no ventilation or windows. This Scooby-Doo trap in the middle of the mansion is very aesthetically similar to the entrance and dining hall, and while it might go against the theory, it will come into play later. The parlor is fairly unique, though not out of place next to, say, the tea room or the northeast corridor. It does look a bit for show though. It could be an outlier, but I think it reinforces the theory that the areas non-umbrella personnel might see is where the money is. And that brings us right back to where we left off. If you start at the entrance hall and work your way out, you can see the quality of the mansion deteriorate room by room. Could be that the areas that are most likely to be seen by visitors are the only areas that are actually worth a shit, and the rest, like the homes in the Doomtowns, are just slapped together and given just enough love so as not to draw too much attention should an outsider stumble across them. I know it's a bit of a stretch, and one big detail we'll get into at the end of the episode sort of complicates that theory, but remember, this mansion's sitting on top of a lab, and rigged to blow on a dime. It was never meant for anything more than a front and a testing ground, so it stands to reason that it wouldn't have been put together with the same level of care as a mansion that was designed to be inhabited. Again, only the areas that are going to be seen by people really had any level of polish. It's a glorified television set. So with all that in mind, let's keep going through the mansion, and see if the rest of the East Wing's first floor can shed any light on the situation. We're starting at the end of the northeast corridor, in a room called the corridor to the back entrance. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't played the game, but this room is the site of something much bigger and cooler than anything we're going to talk about in this video. If you know, you know. There are 2 zombies in this room, the most action we've seen since the dogs in the L-shaped corridor. The room is pretty spacious, and you've got a decent amount of room between you and them. If I had to take a guess, I'd say these 2 were on their way back from the guardhouse, or maybe just the garden area, trying to escape the mansion when they turn. They're wearing plain clothes, so it's possible they were groundskeepers or something. Maybe they were bitten outside and made it this far before bleeding out. It doesn't really matter, but it's fun to speculate. This room is yet another hallway of sorts, another room between rooms. As mentioned before, it leads outside to the shed, garden, and eventually the guardhouse behind the mansion, but I'll save all that for another video. Other than that, there are 3 other doors to choose from. One is locked, one we're going to save for another time. Before we talk about the third, let's take a look at the room. At first glance, it's very similar to the northeast corridor, which I personally think is great. Aesthetic consistency helps for immersion, and like the tea room, it's got the same, or at least similar, floorboards and skirting boards. It's got the same light fixtures, though this room is much darker than either of those 2. Even the wallpaper is similar. There are 2 paintings on the wall. One can't be seen, and the other is of a sort of villa, or just a building of some sort. I did try and figure out what it could be of, but I couldn't find anything. Also, no dialogue comes up when you inspect it, so yeah. That's pretty much all there is in this room to talk about, at least in terms of details. The camera work is pretty standard too, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be super artistic or anything. This room, at least now, is very much just something to be passed through on the way to more interesting places and events. All the shots give the player a fairly good view of the room, but none give everything away. The first camera angle is focused on the player, with the back half of the room hidden behind the perspective. There's little to no visual confirmation of any danger, so again, the player has to listen out for the zombies' groans and footsteps. On the plus side, the camera gives you more than enough space, so you can afford to let them come to you. Going a little deeper into the room affords you a better view of the space you've got to work with, something that will come in handy a bit later. The last few shots are here, and are more reminiscent of what we got in the northeast corridor. A bit tighter, and for the most part, looking down.
Yep.
The shot in the narrow hallway by the back door is pretty great. You can't see a thing, so your first move is to run into the unknown. Much like the northeast corridor, it does the best it can with what it's got, striking the not-so-simple balance of artistic and practical, of not showing too little or too much at once. I feel like in terms of the nuclear town theory, it could go 2 ways. That aesthetic consistency that I'm so irrationally fond of makes me think that it's not a rush job, but at the same time, it wouldn't exactly be a hard room to whip up. There isn't much thought put into the design, and aside from 2 pictures on the wall, there's nothing really going on. No real evidence that this house is, or even was designed for, habitation. Compare it to, say, the entrance or dining halls, or even something like the L-shaped corridor. At least that has some display cabinets. The further away we get from the entrance, the less effort there seems to be in keeping up appearances. This is probably best seen in that narrow walkway by the back door, where the walls don't even look finished. I'm going to call it a wash. There isn't enough here to make a call either way. It could well be a normal room that's fallen into a state of minor disrepair, but it could also just be something they slapped some wallpaper and skirting boards on to hide the mansion's single-use identity. As I said earlier, I'm not going to bother with the outside area yet, so that leaves the other 2 doors. I want to save the second one for a later video, so let's go through the first one. This door, the door on the right from where we entered, leads to a tight room called the East Staircase. I don't know why, but this is one of my favorite rooms in the game. There's nothing I can point to explain why. I just think it's rad. Visually, there isn't a whole lot to say about it. Of the rooms we've seen so far, it most resembles the bathroom. The walls are almost completely textured and look like drywall or plaster or whatever, with a real bare bones coat of paint over it. The floor looks nice enough, but not exactly opulent. Ditto the skirting boards and light fixtures. My point is not to criticize, but just to make a note of these things in relation to the nuclear town theory. As it stands, I'd argue that this room is a great example of what I've been getting at. It's at the arse end of the building, and is so lazily slapped together. Drywall and a coat of paint, with some pictures around the place just to throw someone off the scent. It's far from conclusive, but this room definitely strengthens the theory. There's a real nice looking landscape painting by the door you enter from. I can't quite make it out. Could be a be a garden or something, could be buildings or people. It's likely all three. The game itself does nothing to help you figure it out, but at the same time, it's not important. This whole series, I've been trying to find the origins of each painting and see if there's any meaning behind their selection, but I'm pretty sure I've just been wasting my time. One zombie hangs about this area. You've got space to deal with him, but it doesn't quite...
Oh, the conquering hero returns. What trials did you face, little one?
Is a strategy. But if you're impatient and don't take a second to listen, you can find yourself fending it off in close quarters pretty fast. Along with this zombie here, there are another two on the second floor. This area is adjacent to a bedroom and is clearly a busy thoroughfare, so it stands to reason that it'd be fairly populated with zombies. Not a whole lot else to say about it. Perhaps this one here was hiding out under the staircase when he turned. I can't think of anything this room could be referencing. It does give me the Exorcist vibes, but there's no way it's deliberately doing that. The camera angles are pretty good. There's a lot of depth in the hallway shots, either looking at the player in the distance or looking past them into the rest of the room. It manages to strike a nice balance between giving the player something to work with, but also keeping it all feeling tense and claustrophobic. The camera pulls back to a bird's eye shot when you enter the main part of the room. It does this wonderful job of emphasizing just how little you've got to work with, while also letting you play with all the available space at once. This kind of openness is not something we'll see often in this game, yet unlike the entrance hall, it doesn't give us any relief. I have a massive soft spot for this shot here, next to the storeroom door. There's nothing remarkable about it, it just feels cozy to me. I just found out there are a couple of extra shots in the director's cut version of this game that look pretty cool. They aren't necessary, but they add a lot of personality to the room. Before we head into the room under the stairs, I want to address the second theory I hinted at back at the start of the video. I don't know if you know this about me, but I place undue emphasis on aesthetic consistency in pretty much everything, which is why so much of this mansion bugs me. The aesthetic and consistency of this mansion gave rise to the nuclear town theory I went into earlier, and honestly, is probably largely responsible for this series as a whole. But working on the last few videos, and the next two after this one, I started to connect some dots that weren't necessarily there, but also weren't necessarily not there, if you follow me. See, the nuclear town theory is all well and good, as is the central argument that the further away you get from the entrance, the more the facade of the real mansion starts to fall apart. But as the series went on, a new idea came to me that kind of throws a wrench into that theory. See, there are two dominant aesthetics present in the mansion, and they are borderline incompatible. Here's my theory. There are two sources of inspiration for the Spencer mansion. The first is its genius architect George Trevor, known for creating secret rooms and traps. The second is Oswald Spencer's original mansion in Europe, the Spencer Estate. As always, we won't be looking at anything released after this game, so nothing from the remake or RE5's Lost in Nightmares DLC factors into the investigation. So, with the aforementioned two dominant aesthetics and the two sources of inspiration, once we match aesthetic with inspiration, the rest of the pieces should fall into place fairly easily. Before I go on, I just want to say that future rooms and documents really help sell this theory, but I don't want to touch on anything we haven't already seen. As the series goes on, we'll keep adding pieces to it, same as the nuclear town theory and figuring out the last movements of Bravo Team. The first dominant aesthetic is the marble and red highlights, so the entrance hall, the dining hall, and the suspended ceiling room. The second is the more muted dark wood floorboards and wallpaper look. Think rooms like the northeast corridor, the tea room, the corridor to the back entrance, and I guess the parlor. Each room obviously has its own unique aesthetic, but the visuals are similar enough that the rooms in those two categories can be confidently lumped together without issue. So with those two aesthetics outlined, which belongs to Spencer's original mansion and which are George Trevor's additions? I don't think we have enough evidence to go on just yet, but let's have a look at what we do have. George Trevor had an affinity for traps and hidden rooms. While we haven't seen it yet, there is a secret hidden in the dining hall. The only real trap we've encountered was in the suspended ceiling room. We can say with more or less certainty, again, not counting anything that comes after this game, that the suspended ceiling room was not in Oswald Spencer's original mansion and is in fact purely George Trevor's creation. Between that and the dining hall secret, I'd say the marble rooms are his creations. That means the other aesthetic is likely taken from the original summer home in Europe. A cursory glance at similar buildings in real life help corroborate this, though not conclusively. There's way too much variation in designs for anything substantial, and really, none of this means anything anyway. There is, of course, the possibility that both are both, in a way, and George's contributions are more in the finer details, but that's something we'll have to figure out as the series goes on. Of the remaining rooms, I'd say the exhibition room is one of Trevor's, as is the U-shaped corridor, but the rest look to me like they were taken from, or at least heavily inspired by, the original summer home. There is a third aesthetic that I'm calling the Grim Fandango aesthetic, even though that makes no sense. It's the bathroom, the east staircase, and the east storeroom, though there are rooms we'll visit later that fit the bill too. Honestly, these rooms could be Spencer rooms, but who knows. My guess is that they weren't finished, or deliberately left fairly bare bones because they weren't likely to be seen by outside eyes. Now, some of you might have noticed a problem with this theory. George Trevor's story is present in the remake, but not in the original, invalidating it completely. And yeah, you're spot on. But George Trevor and his family were originally planned to appear in the original game, but were yanked out at the 11th hour. So while he's not mentioned in the original game, his presence and impact can still be seen. He is canon pre-remake too. The documents attributed to him in the remake are adapted from documents that are in the original game's files somewhere, and those same documents were released as part of the true story behind Biohazard, and later Resident Evil the book, the former being a Sega Saturn pre-order bonus for the director's cut, and the latter being available for order from Capcom's website, both released in 1997. Alright, onto the final
I read those
video.
books.
The East storeroom is the first completely safe area in the game. I mean, there are other rooms with no enemies, but the player has no way of knowing that. And the rooms that may not have enemies at first can have enemies later. The East storeroom is the first save room, and that's a sacred distinction. As soon as you hear that beautiful save music, you can unclench a little bit. It's called the storeroom, but honestly, I think it's just empty space. It's a bit too big to be a closet, and it's a bit too empty. This room definitely makes me think I'm onto something with my nuclear town theory. This room looks like an even more stripped back version of the East staircase. The floorboards are different, but the color of the wood is the same. The walls are the same, minus the skirting boards, and there's a single light built into the wall, pointed towards the ground. It goes a long way towards creating an atmosphere for this room. This is also the first time we get to use the item box. I don't really have much else to say on this, though while making this video, I did come up with another fairly outlandish theory. What if this room, and I suppose the item box, were put here deliberately for stars? I mean, it's a storage space, but all that's there is a single empty box. Like I said, I feel like this supports the main theory I've been talking about for this video, but as for this more out there second theory I'm cooking up, it doesn't end there. Depending on your difficulty level or whatever, when you first reach the item box, there's ammunition for you in there.
They're probably gonna
know
know themselves.
more bullets and healing items for you. I know that's a remake thing, but whatever. Yeah,
That's gonna be the way I win.
This has nothing to do with anything, but I love how the roof angles up under the stairs like that. Makes me think
Especially
of those
if I get
studios with
my
the weird acoustic setups. There's only 2
one
shots in
milk
the room,
card.
and not much to say about either. They both give the player a good look into the room. It's a little detail, but this openness helps to put the player at ease a bit. It's the total opposite of the previous room in that way. The east staircase pulled back hard to show a bigger picture, while making the player feel somehow more claustrophobic and out of control. This room pulls back to make a small room feel bigger, and the player safer. I don't really have a whole lot else to say about this room. Its purpose is pretty obvious. It's a save room. A chance for the player to decompress, save their progress, and gear up for the next stretch. And while it's not the most exciting way to end the video, it does seem fitting to call it a night here. And so ends part 5 of Overthinking Resident Evil. Thanks for waiting, and I hope you enjoyed it. Originally, this episode was kind of a two-parter, with the next one being a sort of continuation of the themes and ideas explored in this one. But while rewriting the last 3 episodes of this season, it ended up changing a lot. I guess I'm telling you this in case you notice any similarities between the two. As of right now, the next 2 episodes are already recorded and are currently being edited. And Season 2, episodes 8 to 14, have been mostly drafted. I'm aiming to make up for lost time and get both seasons out this month, but these videos take a long time to make, so I can't promise anything. Thank you all for being so patient. I hope between this video and the ones coming out later this month, that the wait was worth it. Until next time.
Surveillance Cameraman. In 2013, a channel called Surveillance Cameraman was created on YouTube. And although the videos have all been taken down now, only accessible through a handful of internet archives, there was once a time when this channel went so viral that it was even featured in the news and in the Seattle Times newspaper. Although the videos are no longer visible on YouTube, pretty much all of the Surveillance Cameraman videos follow the exact same formula. A man with a camera would walk around the streets of Seattle, go up to random people on the street, get in their personal space, and start recording them without their permission, and without even bothering to explain to people why he was recording or what he planned to do with the videos in the future. As you can imagine, a lot of people didn't take kindly to having a camera shoved in their face, but when his targets would confront him and ask him what he was doing, he would usually either stay completely silent, make slight grunting noises, or just say something extremely vague like, "I'm just recording a video." In some of his videos, people would naturally get pretty mad at him, but he never seemed to care and just kept on recording, even when being yelled at, chased away by his targets, getting stuff thrown at him, or having his camera even batted away. Most of the time, however, people would just get self-conscious and awkward when they realized they were being recorded and would try to walk away from who they probably assumed was either a stalker or just a jerk with no consideration for their privacy and personal space. The channel was extremely weird, and if you take a minute to analyze Surveillance Cameraman's actions, it might seem like there wasn't a real purpose to his videos other than to maybe annoy people to get cheap views on YouTube. However, in one of his videos, he says something that suggests there was a deeper meaning to the channel. In his first video ever, he walks up to a young couple studying at a college campus, immediately pulls out his camera and starts recording them without their permission. After a few moments of awkward silence where the couple tries to figure out what's going on, the guy asks Surveillance Cameraman why he's recording them when they're just minding their own business, to which the uploader responds with a question.
He asks us, why are you taking a video? Just taking a video. Okay, well, I don't want to be taking a video.
Why are you so worried about it?
I'm not worried, you're just being annoying.
Look at it this way. You ever go to the grocery store? You know, there's like surveillance cameras everywhere?
Yeah?
It's not a big deal.
Okay, well...
It's just a video.
No, you're just being annoying.
After the video was uploaded, a lot of people started to speculate that maybe the entire point of the channel was to raise awareness about how much we've sacrificed our privacy in today's world. How we've silently consented to institutions to record our every move and use the footage for means we're not 100% aware of. Although, this theory was never officially confirmed by Surveillance Cameraman himself. Even if it were true, putting cameras in strangers' face just to make a point is a pretty obnoxious way to make a social commentary. Throughout the rest of all his videos, there's almost no further mention of the channel having a deeper meaning. Shortly after the channel was created, a local Seattle news station even made a report on Surveillance Cameraman, heavily leaning into the possibility that the channel was created to comment on a social issue. Shortly after, the Seattle Times even published an article about how the uploader's actions were making a lot of people question the meaning of privacy in the 21st century. Still, because YouTube pretty much wiped the entire channel's videos, it's hard to know the real motivation in recording random people on the street and posting it to YouTube. ForgottenLanguages.org. ForgottenLanguages.org is a very confusing website with all kinds of theories behind its possible meaning, which has led to the creation of a pretty deep rabbit hole around it over the years. Upon visiting the site, you'll be greeted with what appears to be a library of strange articles with some very weird images. What makes this website so strange is that none of these articles are legible, as they appear to be written in some sort of unknown language. Some of the articles do have snippets of English sprinkled throughout them, but for the most part, they're pretty much impossible to understand. The only way you'd be able to get an idea of what each article is about would be to look at the external documents being referenced in the article and do some reverse engineering to make an educated guess.
They're going on system maintenance? What the fuck?
The stranger the topics of the article
I'm in the middle of a game,
like
bitch.
occult spirituality, alien technologies, the darker side of neuropsychology, and similar topics. Although some people
My cats are on a roll. Come on.
was just made as a complicated joke, others have claimed
Mother
to have successfully
effer.
translated some of the articles with advanced translation software. Many people seem to think ForgottenLanguages.org is the work of a mysterious woman who goes by the name Angel, along with 15 other close collaborators who are obsessed with using already existing languages to create a new, universal language that can be understood by living organisms other than humans. This is where it starts to get a little confusing, as the creators of the website have also allegedly claimed that they made ForgottenLanguages.org to share some sort of secret knowledge with other speakers of the language around the world. Because some of the articles on the site seem to reference confidential government documents, lots of people have theorized that there's something deeper going on behind the scenes at Forgotten Languages, but so far none of this has been confirmed. I also found really elaborate association charts made by someone who wanted to find all the people connected to the website. But some of the associations look like a bit too much of a stretch, and it looks more like a conspiracy theory chart than anything else. Because the owners of Forgotten Languages have been uploading articles to their site for over 15 years, it's hard to believe they're doing it without a real purpose. If it were a hoax or some sort of ARG, this would be a pretty elaborate one. As I later found out, there's also a Forgotten Languages YouTube channel with some very strange videos. A couple of other YouTubers have reached out to the channel owners who responded not to worry about the channel as the videos were all made as messages for their members or something like that. It's possible in the future more information on Forgotten Languages will surface, but for now, there's not really a concrete idea as to what the site is actually used for. Thrift Shop SD Cards. In 2014, a channel called Thrift Shop SD Cards was created on YouTube with the intention of uploading strange things that the channel owners found in the memory cards and cameras they bought at thrift stores. Since its creation, only 2 videos have been uploaded to its channel, with the most recent one dating back to September 2014. In the description of the first video, the uploaders claim that the video was found on an SD card in an old digital camera around 2004, and that the footage shows 2 teens looking at what appears to be an abandoned school. As per the caption, there's a weird sound at 49 seconds, after which the 2 teens mention a moving door and turn the camera off. Because the video ends as soon as one of the teenagers turns around, it's impossible to know what exactly caused the door to move. Still, it's pretty creepy considering the video was allegedly found on a thrift shop camera. The second video shows a man staring into the camera and talking about something being in his eyes, and asking someone else if they see the things in his eyes too, with no response. According to the uploader, this video was taken in 2003, and although many people have found it a little disturbing, it's more than likely that the guy just had colored contact lenses in his eyes, and was going to send the video to a friend asking if he could see them. Although of course this hasn't been confirmed, it's pretty likely that's all there is to this video. Help Me, Susie's Dying. In the UK in the 70s and 80s, there were rumors that if you went to certain telephone booths and dialed a specific number, you would allegedly reach a woman with a flat, monotone voice repeating the same creepy phrase over and over. Help me, Susie's dying. However, on the internet there's some contradicting information circulating about the whole thing. Many people disagree on the exact number you'd have to dial to reach the disturbing voice, and what the exact message you'd hear was, but the common consensus was that the number was simply 202020, or a similar combination of 2s and 0s. Over the years, the story's been reposted all over the internet on forums like 4chan and Reddit, and the first account of the Help Me Susie's Dying story I was able to find dates all the way back to the year 2000. A man from Lancashire named Rob Dickinson wrote about his account of what happened when he and a couple of his friends went into a phone booth in the mid-70s to see if the rumors were true. Rob's account was originally published in the It Happened to Me section of the 14 Times, a British magazine dedicated to publishing people's accounts of their encounters with the odd, paranormal, and mysterious. I found a few more accounts of the same story in the same magazine, and although there was some contradicting information in some of them, they all agreed that the phone booths were located in or around the town of Burnley in the UK, and that the incident took place in the 70s and 80s. These few accounts are the only official sources of information available on the Help Me Susie's Dying incident, which makes it hard to confirm whether any of this is true. According to one of the most logical and believable theories that has surfaced regarding the disturbing recording, the voice was supposed to be a test not meant to be heard by the public. And it's possible that due to the bad quality of the recording back in the 70s and 80s, the voice could have been saying something completely different than what the users heard. It's possible that the voice was saying something like, "Hold please, user dialing," but because of the garbled sound of the recording, the dialer heard "Help me, Susie's dying," and the whole story became a case of broken telephone. Still, it's possible that some employees at the phone booth company programmed the test recording to say something dark and disturbing as a joke. Sweet Peach. Sweet Peach is an extremely strange YouTube channel created in July 2017 featuring over 17,000 videos that don't seem to make any sense. All of the videos are the same, starting with an image of a couple of barcodes and eventually becoming a jarbled mess of colorful graphics, geometric shapes, and smiley faces while beeping tones can be heard in the background. Although the videos vary in length, most of them range from 2 to 9 minutes long, and despite the insane amount of videos that have been uploaded to the channel over the years, there doesn't seem to be any sort of meaning to Sweet Peach. Many people have come up with all kinds of theories to explain the channel's purpose, but it seems the channel is most similar to another channel called WebDriver Torso. On September 23, 2013, WebDriver Torso started uploading videos at a pretty insane rate, often every 15 to 20 minutes. Similarly to Sweet Peach, the videos consisted of
Do they have a counter
colorful
spell?
graphics and constant beeping noises playing in the background. Although most of the 624,000 videos uploaded to the channel were pretty much the same, the channel gained a lot of public attention in 2014 when a couple of users found what appeared to be jokes sprinkled throughout some of the videos. As the videos gained attention online, YouTube eventually admitted that the channel had been created by their performance engineers as an internal testing tool for visuals and audio, and in 2017, WebDriver Torso stopped posting videos at the same crazy fast rate. Still, WebDriver Torso remains active to this day, still posting videos on occasion. Considering its similarities to WebDriver Torso, it's possible that Sweet Peach is just another automated performance testing account. Otherwise, I can't really think of a good reason to have a channel like this. The Stinky Meat Project. StinkyMeat.net is probably one of the strangest, most disgusting websites hidden in the corners of the internet. It's not necessarily disturbing, just incredibly weird. As per the website's description, the Stinky Meat Project was created in the summer of 2000 by a guy named Malin Smith, who thought it would be a good idea to take 3 different kinds of meat, put them on a plate, and place them in his neighbor's yard to see what would happen if he left the meat to rot. Long story short, because he never got arrested for his antics in his neighbor's yard, he decided to turn the Stinky Meat Project into something a little bit bigger. Over the years, Malin Smith and a couple of his friends have been taking different kinds of raw meat and documenting what happens when they leave the meat in random locations such as libraries, malls, parks, backyards, and even on top of their computers. The whole project consists of them going back to the meat they've left in different locations, checking to see how disgusting it gets over time, and uploading the pictures to their site, as well as some descriptions of what they had to go through for the meat to end up where it did. There doesn't seem to be much more to it. The sheer effort they've put into the whole thing is pretty insane. Over time, Malin and his friends have even made some merch with the Stinky Meat Project logo on t-shirts, and it appears they even had a bit of a fan base at their peak. It seems the project is no longer active, but the website definitely still is, and probably will be for a while. Floating Chinese City. In 2015, a video of what appeared to be a floating city in the clouds above the Chinese city of Foshan started circulating everywhere online, and after it was covered in several news stations around the world, all kinds of theories started surfacing regarding the video's origin. The quality of the video itself is pretty bad, but because it was allegedly shot on a cloudy day, it doesn't immediately look fake. Despite the fact that even sources like CNN covered it, nobody really knows who shot the video or where it came from, which is pretty strange regardless of whether it's real or not. As you can imagine, as soon as some of the more credible sources began speculating about the video's origin, people started throwing around all kinds of conspiracy theories, with some people claiming that the footage is undeniable evidence of the so-called Blue Beam Project. According to the now deceased
You may
Canadian
cast the
writer and
future
poet
self
Sergei
from your
Moast, Project
graveyard.
Blue Beam was NASA's effort to broadcast holograms of the second coming of Christ all over the world to implement a totalitarian takeover of Earth by the New World Order. Although this is one of the wilder theories regarding the video's origin for sure, some of the other more credible theories that have also gained traction over the years suggest there's a more plausible explanation for the video of the floating city. According to one of the most believable ones, the floating city could have been a real video of something called a Fata Morgana, which is basically an optical illusion or a mirage caused by
Cat vampire.
extremely dense air trapped by alternating layers of warm and cold. This phenomenon sometimes causes boats and ships on the ocean to look as if they're floating above the water in the distance, or that there's water in the distance on the road. Still, to say the floating city looks anything like what even the most impressive Fata Morgana usually looks like is a huge stretch, suggesting the very real possibility that the video was somehow faked.
Oh my god, this is a weird non-blue mill deck.
NASA mission to Mars in 1973 started gaining
In a way, I guess.
Many people bought into the theory that NASA had launched
Control,
a project coded
sacrifice,
as Project Red Sun
black.
in the late 60s and early 70s to land
And life
on
gain.
Mars and establish relationships with aliens without the general public
The
noticing.
life gains saved
The
me a
footage
lot.
itself starts with a blue screen warning viewers that the video is not meant for public distribution, after which we see 3 minutes of blurry, wobbly footage of the supposed Mars landing. At first glance, it's hard
You
to
have
make
3
it,
turns.
and it's not hard to see why many conspiracy theorists tried to position the footage as proof that NASA had been working with aliens for the past 50 years while keeping the public completely in the dark. Obviously, the most logical explanation is that the video and the theory behind it are fake. Some people have claimed that the footage is the work of the Faking Hoaxer, a small channel on YouTube that has released similar footage in the past and promoted it as real. It might also be worth mentioning that John Walker, the YouTuber who originally uploaded the video back in 2012, has uploaded similar videos of questionable origin in the past. The most popular video on his channel, uploaded 14 years ago, is titled Apollo 17 Alien Encounter, and it shows some obviously
I'm a
edited
cat
footage.
collector.
So just with that, we have to take everything
Hello.
with a grain of salt.
I've got cats for you. I hope you like them.
Software. But there are of course people in small pockets of the internet that still believe this is real, despite the overwhelming evidence against it.
Horror not all the time has to be based on messing up the mind and shadowy ghost in the corner of rooms. Sometimes a really scary and sick-looking monster makes a horror series entertaining. The first horror manga that comes to mind is Hakaiju, or Creature by Shingo Honda. Fans of the channel know Honda for the series Psycho Pass, but before this, Creature was one of his most popular series with a questionable review score. So today, let's go over the first 4 volumes of the series and see if Creature lives up to the hype, or if Psycho Pass was Honda's only good work.
But if you guys want to see more anime content like this one, then why not go down and hit that subscribe button?
If you guys really want a part 2 video to the series, then let's get this video to 2K likes. And remember guys to join the Discord server with the link in the description below. But without further ado, let's get on with it. At Tachikawa High School, 2 best friends, Akira Takashiro and Eiji Kudo, are in school when their other best friend, Miku Aizawa, has come back to Tokyo on a school trip. The other classmates think that Akira and Eiji are brothers due to their magic bracelet, but it was a gift from Miku before she moved away. The class president, now Shirosaki, is a bit unusual, but is still popular with all the boys in class. Akira just got promoted to the starting position in the basketball team. Eiji is excited for him, but makes it into a competition. At the next game, whoever scores more will get to confess to Miku. Both of the boys have been in love with her since they were kids, and none of them told her how they felt when she left. So, to prevent some weirdo from getting her, Eiji acknowledges Akira as a rival. Akira goes to the storage closet to get a ball, but suddenly, the room begins to shake, and a shelf lands directly on top of Akira. When he wakes up, Akira crawls out and opens the door to hear crunching noises. He takes a closer look and sees Eiji's arm laying on the ground, ripped off from the body. Akira falls back and takes another peek inside to see multiple 3-fingered arms charging straight at him. He barricades the door and waits for the banging to stop, but after a bit, he takes another peek and spots his phone on the ground. He dashes to it and an alarm goes off, alerting the monster's arms, whose fingers reveal razor-sharp teeth. He makes a run for it, slamming the door on the arms and tripping on some more dead bodies. A student pleads for help, but his lower half is getting eaten by the arms. Akira runs to his classroom to find a pile of dead bodies, and some eyes below that pile asking for help. It turned out to be Nao, who is freaked out and doesn't understand what is happening. The arms appear behind her, and Akira pushes her out of the way as they run away together. The ground begins to shake again as they're near the exit. They run out, but something huge crushes the school behind them. As they look up, they witness the massive body of an alien-like monster, the top of a body in a
These
dome
cats,
shape with
dude.
2 giant legs and a tail with 6 long, thin arms coming. The monster raises its other foot, breaking through the other half of the school, and takes a step behind Akira.
Are they gonna rage quit?
As it continues to walk towards the city, Akira tries to call for help, but there's no signal. They walk towards their town,
Thanks
but
for the
the
life.
reception seems odd. That
buddy.
giant monster didn't do it. They see a woman in the distance asking for help, when suddenly she gets her face cut in half by another monster with a giant claw as a hand. They take cover in a parking garage, but two other students are there, a bully by the name of Tadokoro and a nerd that they call Warhead. They plan to work together, going to the closest house and moving on to the next. The first house that they choose to go to is Warhead's, but Akira doesn't feel comfortable collaborating with someone like Tadokoro due to the way that he treats Warhead. Akira smells something awful though, and then they turn to see the grotesque monster standing behind them. They run towards Warhead's house, and a moving car crashes straight into the monster, tipping it over. As they reach the apartment, Warhead begins to laugh, saying that he's prayed every day for something to destroy the world and kill everyone who has ever bullied him. Warhead screams that there's a monster behind Tadokoro, but there's nothing there, as Warhead runs to his apartment and locks them outside. Suddenly, the claw monster climbs up to their apartment, but gets taken down by a giant centipede-like monster that was at the school. They try to run to the elevator, but the centipede monster is blocking the way. It opens its mouth to reveal corpses of their own classmates. They run down the stairs as the centipede wraps around the apartment complex, destroying all the rooms and killing Warhead. They run past the house with the TV playing the news. However, the news stations don't mention anything about the monsters. They check the phone again to see if there's service, but Akira saw that he got a message from Miku before the attack, saying that she was at Tachikawa Station. Akira wants to go, but Tadokoro thinks it's a bad idea since the monsters would usually gather where most people would. However, now says that there's a self-defense force stationed there, so they might have an evacuation plan. The centipede monster finds them and they run away. Just when they think they're safe, they realize that there's more centipede monsters roaming around. One of them grabs Nao, but Akira saves her with a pipe, but also gets knocked away. Just before the monster was about to kill them, something else caught his attention and it left. The group wonders why that is, but when Akira threw away his pipe, they realize that it didn't make a noise when it fell. They check their surroundings and see a massive hole in the middle of the town. Tadokoro has lost hope, but Akira has unfinished business and needs to go to the train station and tell her about Eiji. The group arrives at Tachikawa Station, filled with abandoned cars and corpses. They see a group of survivors running towards them, but they tell them to run, saying that the big one is coming. The ground quakes as an enormous monster emerges, dwarfing the buildings around it. Its body resembles jagged, armor-like layers with a grotesque head composed entirely of just sharp teeth. It shouts a deafening war, and everyone runs towards the exit. The volume ends with the survivors pushing Tadokoro out of the way as the monstrous giant closes in, its relentless steps leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. The giant monster head towards the south exit, giving Akira, Nao, and Tadokoro a chance to escape. As they reach a ledge overlooking the destroyed city, a voice calls out to them from the nearby cinema. A man motions them inside where a group of survivors have gathered. Akira scans the crowd, but Miku is nowhere to be seen. The man introduces himself as Mitsuru Takeshige, a former gym teacher, and offers them sanctuary. The survivors exchange what little information that they have, and Mitsuru invites Akira and his group to stay. Tadokoro agrees, exhausted and eager for safety, but Akira refuses. He's determined to find Miku no matter the risk. Mitsuru and Tadokoro try to convince him, insisting that the cinema is the safest place left, but Akira counters that no place is guaranteed safe. Nao asks for Akira's phone, studying a picture of Miku before handing it back. Nao is going to join him since he saved her life. Mitsuru still doesn't let them leave, while a brash survivor by the name of Majima argues that they should leave, claiming it's less trouble for the group. A survivor speculates that the monsters might have a resting period, offering a small window of opportunity. Against Mitsuru's protest, the theater owner volunteers to guide Akira, and Mitsuru reluctantly agrees to help. Outside, Mitsuru, Akira, and Nao scout the south exit, where the giant monster had passed earlier. Mitsuru hands Nao a handkerchief, but as he adjusts his pockets, a photo slips out. Akira picks it up, a picture of a young girl. Mitsuru hesitates before admitting that she's his daughter, but they've been separated. The group reaches the ticket gate, now sealed off. Akira notices another massive hole beyond the exit and runs up to the roof for a better look. From above, he spots a similar hole on the east side. A little to the left of it, the giant monster rests atop a cluster of buildings. To the west, where the self-defense force was supposed to be stationed, there's nothing but another hole. Akira realizes that it's not random holes, but an encircling trench around the entire city, meaning they're trapped in Tachikawa. As Akira possesses his revelation, two new survivors approach and lead them to another hidden group. Akira immediately asks about Miku, but no one has seen her. Mitsuru begins organizing a plan to lead the group to the cinema safely. Before they leave, Akira is approached by Mako Sakura, a former classmate from middle school. She hints that she saw Miku, but doesn't elaborate. Akira's thoughts are interrupted by an ominous presence, a massive needle-like monster standing behind the group. Without warning, it slices a man's head off clean, revealing a mantis-like monster with elongated limbs and a predatory stance. Panic erupts, the survivors scatter as the monsters strike, its razor-sharp limbs carving through flesh. Akira, Nao, and Sakura break away from the main group, only to witness another mantis-like creature impale a man, causing his body to grotesquely swell before exploding. The trio ducks into a store as more monsters descend. As they hide, Akira's alarm suddenly blares, drawing the creatures towards them as they tear apart the store. Luckily, Akira, Nao, and Sakura set up that distraction to escape, but finds themselves face to face with another mantis. Mitsuru appears, hurtling an object to divert the monster before using a fire extinguisher to fight off the others. As they make their way out, a survivor collapses. Mitsuru stops to help, but a monster appears behind the man. As Mitsuru tries to leave, the man grabs his ankle, accusing him of leading them to their deaths, saying that it's all his fault that they're dead. Furious, Mitsuru kicks the man hard in the face, leaving him to the mantis monster. However, Akira blames himself for all of their deaths, believing him running to the rooftop led to the group's demise. Before continuing, he demands to know where Sakura saw Miku. Mitsuru, frustrated, decides to just abandon Akira and focus on the others' safety. He urges Nao and Sakura to follow him, but Nao refuses to leave Akira's side. Sakura begins to explain when Akira suddenly shoves Nao out of the way as two enormous centipede monsters crash down, narrowly missing him. The creatures twist and coil together, forming a massive dome. Now tries to stay with Akira, but Mitsuru drags her away, shouting to shut up and just listen to him. As more centipedes appear, Mitsuru picks up now and forces her to retreat to the cinema. Back at the theater, the survivors ask about Akira. Sakura hesitates, but Mitsuru coldly declares that he's dead. He informs the group about the trenches and the apparent absence of the self-defense force. Turning to now, he sternly warns everyone that the cinema is the safest place in Tachikawa right now, so no one must leave. Now stands defiant, saying that she's leaving to go save Akira. Mitsuru snaps, "How many times do I have to tell you? Shut up and do as I say." Elsewhere, Akira regains consciousness beneath the centipede's dome. He uses his phone flashlight to reveal a grotesque sight. Baby centipedes, writhing as a massive tentacle, gives birth to more. The babies wake up and the walls begin to fall and shatter, revealing a fully grown centipede monster. Akira runs away as he sees that the city is now filled with centipede domes. He races back to the theater to warn the others, only to find it eerily empty. The volume ends with Mitsuru sitting alone on the stage, blood smeared across his face. Mitsuru sits alone on the stage, blood streaked across his face, muttering, "Something terrible happened in this theater." He claims a monster broke in, and though they managed to stop it, the survivors panicked and barricade themselves in the bathroom. Akira surveys the eerie intact room, spotting bloodstains on the floor, but no signs of destruction. Doubts creep into his mind. Did a monster really attack here? Mitsuru urges Akira to speak to the others and reassure them. Reluctantly, Akira heads to the bathroom and talks to Nao through the door. He tells her that it's safe and that the monsters are gone, but Nao's voice trembles. "What are you talking about?" When Akira mentions Mitsuru's story, Nao suddenly screams for him to run. Before Akira can react, Mitsuru grabs him by the neck, dragging him backwards. Mitsuru growls, threatening to kill Akira if she doesn't come out. Nao bursts through the door swinging a mop at Mitsuru, but he catches it. As tension peaks, Majima enters with supplies, distracting Mitsuru long enough for Akira to knee him in the chin. Nao grabs another mop and smashes it against Mitsuru's head. The two escape, but Mitsuru grabs a sledgehammer and charges after them. He swings wildly, nearly hitting Nao, and screams at Akira, blaming him for always putting her in danger. They manage to barricade themselves in a storage room where they find Torokoro and another survivor, Takuya, bound and beat up. Takuya reveals that Mitsuru's leadership took a dark turn before Akira returned. After smacking Nao, Mitsuru turned on Torokoro when he tried to intervene. Takuya had also been beaten for attempting to stop him. Mitsuru had solidified control over the group through violence, sending Majima and a movie nerd survivor to scavenge for supplies. However, the movie nerd used the opportunity to escape the theater entirely. As Akira frees the others, Mitsuru begins smashing the door open. Akira tries to reason with him, bringing up his daughter, hoping to appeal to his humanity. But he admits that the girl wasn't his daughter, but a former student he had relentlessly pushed towards his idea of perfection. But when she accused him of sexual harassment, it ruined his whole career. But it's all okay now, because he found Nao, who he sees potential in being his ideal partner, his queen. The group readies themselves to fight back, but a centipede monster suddenly crashes through a window, killing Takuya. The creature lunges at Nao, but Mitsuru, wielding his sledgehammer, slams it in the head. The monster retaliates, biting Mitsuru's arm and flinging him across the room. Tadakoro grabs the hammer and strikes the centipede, distracting it long enough for Mitsuru to deliver the killing blow. As they catch their breath, Majima enters the room, screaming that there's an army of creatures inside. The survivors ready themselves for another fight, knowing that they have to free the people trapped in the bathroom. But centipedes swarm the hallway outside the door. Inside, a panicked survivor mistakes the noise for her boyfriend and opens the door, only to be grabbed and devoured. Sakura slams the door shut as another monster pounds against it. Akira charges in with a trolley, smashing into the monster and creating an opening. Sakura escapes, but the older couple, trapped inside the bathroom, urges them to leave. Akira hesitates but promises to come back for them. Outside, chaos reigns. 3 massive centipede monsters loom over the city, their swarms of offspring spilling onto the streets. As the survivors brace for another fight, a car barrels through, crushing the baby centipedes. The vehicle skids to a stop, narrowly dodging the mother centipede that destroyed the side of the theater. The movie nerd was the driver, as he tells the group to get in. There's not enough room for everyone, so Majima kicks Nao out of the car, intending to use her as bait. Before anyone can react though, Mitsuru snaps, grabbing Majima and hurling him towards the monsters. Majima's screams are cut short as he's torn apart, giving Nao a chance to climb into the car. The mother centipede chases them as the car tears through the ruined streets. The movie nerd expertly drifts around obstacles, but a baby centipede clings to their rear. Akira directs them through narrow alleyways. They finally stop at the edge of the trench, encircling the city. The giant centipede looms over them, posed to strike, but then stops. It stares at them for a tense moment before retreating back to the station. The survivors catch their breath and share a small meal. Akira presses Sakura for details about Miku, and she reluctantly admits that there's no point in looking for her. That's because Miku is already out of Tachikawa. She explains that Miku was last seen boarding a monorail to Tama Center, just minutes before the earthquake had trapped them. Relieved, Akira resolves to find a way to escape Tachikawa. The movie nerd suggests a risky plan. There's a helipad used by the self-defense force. If they could find a helicopter, they might be able to escape. However, no one knows how to fly. But the movie nerd was excited to do it, knowing that he could be the one to save everyone. That's why he escaped through the back door of the theater. Mitsuru grabs him by the neck, furious, blaming him for the destruction of the cinema and his plan to build a kingdom with Nao. But the nerd smirks, knowing that they can't kill him
Alright,
because
I'm
he's the
sorry.
main character of this
Shit.
movie. The volume ends with tension
Oh,
intensifying,
is it
but
label?
a faint sound cuts through the silence. The survivors look up as 2 choppers appear overhead. The group waves frantically at the helicopters, but their signals are ignored as the aircraft disappeared into the horizon. As the helicopters are leaving, the movie nerd pulls out his phone and starts recording commentary. Tadokoro snatches the phone, scrolling through past footage, only to find a video showing baby centipedes breaking into the cinema. Fury erupts within the group as they confront the nerd. His nonchalant response was that he just wanted to document for history, only fueling Mitsuru's rage. Pinning the nerd to the ground, Mitsuru is ready to kill him, but Akira steps in to calm him down. The nerd seizes the moment to remind them that they should just be focusing on chasing down the helicopters to escape instead of fighting each other. With tension still high, the group piles into the car, chasing the helicopters towards a nearby helipad. When they arrive, the helicopters are eerily empty. Before they can process the scene, an army truck barrels past them, narrowly missing their vehicle. Todokoro tries flagging them down, but the soldiers inside remain unresponsive. They follow the truck to a station where the soldiers disembark and vanish into a nearby building. Akira, Todokoro, and the movie nerd decide to investigate, leaving the others in the army truck. Inside, they find the station crawling with monster eggs. As they explore, an elevator arrives with a horrifying clawed monster devouring a corpse inside. They try to sneak away, but Todokoro trips, alerting the creature. Before it could attack, though, a fin mantis-like monster suddenly kills the clawed creature. The building erupts into chaos as mantis and claw monsters engage in territorial combat. The trio flees downstairs but is blocked by a centipede. Soldiers storm the scene, subduing the creature with tranquilizers. Todokoro eagerly approaches them, but the soldiers just ignore him, focused on capturing smaller creatures and collecting samples. Akira realizes that something is off, and they tail the soldiers as they secure more monsters into crates. Outside, Mitsuru, Nao, and Sakura remain hidden in the truck until soldiers discover them. Guns drawn, the soldiers order them to get out. Mitsuru resists and is swiftly subdued. Nao pleads for their lives, but a soldier coldly replies, "Our mission does not include saving lives." Akira rushes back, warning everyone of a giant centipede approaching. As the massive creature barrels towards them, the soldiers launch a barrage of rockets. The monster is injured but demolishes the building in its takedown. Amid the chaos, the nerd commandeers their car and drives it straight at the centipede, leaping out at the last moment. The soldiers blow up the vehicle, momentarily staggering the creature. Using the distraction, the group steals a ride on the soldiers' truck to the helipad. At the helipad, the soldiers load crates containing captured monsters into helicopters. When Akira begs to board, the commanding officer refuses, claiming that they've seen too much. The movie nerd, always optimistic, shows a dark video that he filmed back at the store. A human figure surrounded by centipedes, but they're not attacking him. The leader tried to take the phone, but the movie nerd vows to break it if they don't let them on. The leader hesitates, but ultimately agrees, splitting the group into two helicopters, one with Akira, Nao, and Mitsuru, and the other Todokoro, Sakura, and the movie nerd. As the helicopters lift off, Akira peers down at the hole, wondering why the creatures wouldn't get near it, noticing something strange. At the bottom of the hole, a massive, unblinking eye stares back at him. Panic spreads as Todokoro notices the same thing. But the movie nerd is thrilled at the discovery. Before Akira can ask what it means, the leader tells him that they shouldn't be frightened. They're gonna go to the headquarters to report everything that they experience. Mitsuru tells him that he's not going to help a bunch of randoms, but the leader points his gun at them, saying that they're a precious source of information, and that the government will be responsible for their safety. Nao is shocked that the government knew about what was going on in Tachikawa, but the leader says that the trench that was meant to quarantine the city didn't work due to that thing in the hole. Suddenly, his body begins to contort. His head explodes as a mantis monster emerges, having melted its way out of its crate. Chaos erupts as the creature attacks Nao, and Mitsuru shields her, taking a fatal stab to the shoulder. Bleeding heavily, he wrestles the mantis, ripping its nose off with sheer determination. The mantis cuts off his arm and tries to throw him off the helicopter. Shouting to Nao, he tells her that he will never die and that he will see her soon. As Nao cries, he tells her that he loves her, and in his final act, Mitsuru hurls himself and the mantis out of the helicopter. The remaining helicopter barely escapes, but the relief is short-lived. The second helicopter, carrying Sakura, Todokoro, and the nerd, is obliterated by
my husband needed something.
of Akira's helicopter tries to evade.
He forgot something and he needed help finding his phone.
Massive tail strikes, crippling the craft. As the helicopter spirals out of control, Akira and Nao hold hands, bracing for impact. The volume ends with the wreckage smoldering on the other side of the trench, and the centipede sample looming over the parts, clutching onto Akira's charred wristband in its mandibles. I really did enjoy this series. I'm really glad that I found a monster invasion story similar to something like Cloverfield. I love the designs of the monsters. They're all just so sick with a ton of details and just a lot of inspirations from different horror medias. I love the dynamic of the survivors. Akira is that good main character who just doesn't really solve things, but he does try his hardest to do it. It's kind of realistic and his actions are pretty understandable. He's like the ultimate ride or die. Nao is a girl who tries to calm down the scenario, but is clearly in love with Akira. She just doesn't show it yet, but hopefully in the future they do show that if they do survive the helicopter crash. I also really like Todokoro. He was like an annoying, mean bully, but he showed his true self pretty quickly. He's scared, he's cowardly, but he sticks up when needed and has always become sort of like the comedian of the group. He was first very unlikable, but now I started to tolerate him. He was a pretty good, interesting character. And honestly, I think the only thing that I didn't like about this is that we don't really see much of what happened between them before the monsters. We don't really know much about Nao. We just know that she was popular in high school. We know that she was a class president, but we didn't know how she was as a child or things leading up to it. We also don't know much about Todokoro. We just know that he was a bully, but we don't know anything about his backstory or why he became a bully. I feel like having backstory to these characters will make a lot of their dynamic a lot better. It makes us definitely enjoy watching them more. And the other characters, I could literally care less about. There's nothing much to Sakura except that she knows about Miku, in that she's known Akira since like middle school, but that's about it. Other than that, she's just pretty useless. She's just there in the background. She doesn't really do much. The movie nerd is just an annoying, irritating character, but what makes him even more annoying is that he proves the main characters wrong by getting them out of trouble multiple times. He did save them with the car, he did save them with the plan of the helicopter, he did bargain them in the helicopters, he did also cause a massive distraction towards a monster. He was really useful, but it's his ego that it just makes us hate this character so much, and I feel like it is on purpose, so it's kind of good that I really hate this character. But I think one of the worst characters in this whole series is the PDF file Mitsuru. He is just a musclehead that was at first well-spoken, clearly sane, but then he just gets roided up mid-arc and just becomes this really dumb gym bro who's obsessed with this minor. I love though that with every win that the group gets, the more trouble that they get into. The situation is always intense. It lets us breathe for just a couple of seconds until something terrible just happens. The tension is always there, and the monsters just get scarier.
Alright, I'm gonna
and
keep
scarier every time
streaming,
they're shown on screen.
but
There are a
I'm
lot
gonna
of
be
things
on a
that I
call,
need
so I'm gonna
answers
be
to. A lot
I'm
of
gonna
stuff
mute my
about
mic for a
creatures,
second,
a lot
but
of
I'll
stuff
still
about
be here.
armament, a lot of stuff of
I'll,
what's happening on the outside world,
my
especially
chat.
now
But
just
I
the humanoid creature that
get off
seems
this
to
shit.
be controlling the centipedes, but also the
They'll still
giant
be here.
eyeball that's in the hole. I don't know how they survived that helicopter crash, or
Charlie for a
even
little
did
bit,
survive the helicopter
but
crash, but we have a lot
turn
of
off
bombs
the,
to go, and I really need to know what happens next. And if you guys really want to know what happens next, then let's just get this video to 2K likes, and I'll be happy
Yeah, I'm
to
gonna
up
have to
soon.
put the audio
But thank
too.
you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to join the Discord server. The link will be in the description below. And if you want more horror manga videos like this one, then why not hit that subscribe button? But I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.
Amusement parks that host thrilling rides have been around for over 100 years now. Some of these parks are open year-round. Attractions all day, every day for thrill seekers to enjoy. When you have some of these impossible-looking attractions running for so long, human error can slip in and cause many injuries to the passengers present on these rides. And in some cases, these injuries can be fatal. Today we'll be going over an iceberg that I created that covers many different incidents from amusement parks all over the world. Even if you're an expert on the subject, this iceberg is guaranteed to have something. Galaxy Spin. Galaxy Spin is a smaller coaster located at Fun Spot America Theme Park in Kissimmee, Florida. It's considered to be a wide
Hey, that's where I live.
which basically means it has very sharp turns, with carts being wider than the tracks to simulate hanging over the edge. On all
Alright, I'll be right back. Alright, I'm still here. I'm sorry. I'm still waiting on Charlie to talk. So I'm just gonna try to finish up this game. No matter how this will work. Like game life, I lose it. Now. Did that work? Oh, game life. Game? One life, I think. Yeah, I'll finish up after this time.
Your disposition is noted. Ghostfire, my greatest creation.
Row.
Do not ignore my draconic talents.
Game. It's just a dumb move. All because of a fox. I love a fox. That doesn't talk. I wish they gave voice a VA for Jace, the Mind Sculptor, the fox for sure. I can say cute fox sounds like the wit guy. I forgot his name already. I hate him. Anyway, GG's. Ooh, I got a pack. She's still fucking lethal? I don't know. She's probably in Magic 4. So, whenever you draw your second card, each turn, create a token that's a copy of this creature. Worth fucking too much mana. Anyway, I gotta go. Peace out. Later. I might be back. I don't know. Anyway, peace out. Later. I gotta go to work later. But I might be back. Anyway, peace out. Later. Love you. Bye. Bye. Bye.